Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Wednesday, May 23rd, about 7 p.m., and this is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Wareham School Committee. First item on the agenda is public participation. Is there anybody here who would like to address the committee? Yes, please.
If I sit, will you see me?
Yes, and we'll hear you.
You will. My name's Chris Mars. I'm president of the Wareham Education Association, and thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. I represent administrators, teachers, and paraprofessionals who are employed by the town of Wareham. I'm here tonight to voice my concerns about the school department's current fiscal crisis. I'm here tonight to implore members of the school committee, parents, WEA members, and members of the community and business enterprises in town to petition the Board of Selectmen to place the debt exclusion and override initiative on the ballot. These past few days in our schools have been what I would term devastating. I've been employed by Wareham. This is my 29th year, and I've never experienced such devastation. Over the past several days, approximately 25 teachers have been notified that they will no longer be employed as of June 15th. Teachers with 17 years of service are being notified that they no longer have a job. Teachers who came to Wareham, young and old, veterans and novices, are being told that they aren't needed to work with our students. There aren't enough funds to keep them. Teachers who have been here for 1 year or 17 years are all important, and all are necessary. They are not extras. They are not frills that should be slashed. Programs are being cut, although this isn't new to our schools or to our students. However, there is no fat left to cut. We are now cutting into the muscle. Without the support of debt exclusion or the override, let me describe what is now happening, what's now underway. Class sizes are increasing for next year. Physical education, health, art, music, foreign language, business programs will be eliminated. Sports and activities will be curtailed. We've already cut into many of those programs before. Students will choose to go elsewhere for their education if this continues, if this happens. We are shortchanging our children. Wareham teachers are the heart and soul of education in the community. We continue to grow and to learn. We continue to work to improve our students' learning and to lead them to a life that will be successful and productive. We've worked with less for years. Fewer books, less supplies and materials, and we have lost teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators. It has to stop. We must stem this tide. We must turn this around. There's a ripple effect that goes along with losing teachers. Students' educational experiences play a large role in shaping the dropout problem that we see in so many communities. Cutting programs will limit our students' opportunities and their experiences. Cutting teachers will limit student engagement. We know that students want to be engaged, and data shows they need a curriculum that is focused and more rigorous. Elimination of courses at the middle and high school will put our students at greater risk. The ripple is well underway. We are losing students right now to surrounding school districts. We are challenged by the recent NEASC report. We will lose new and veteran teachers to other districts or other jobs. We will be hard-pressed to enlist new hires in Wareham. And all of this is due to our budget crisis. We need to stem the tide. I applaud the superintendent and the school committee in recommending this school budget. It is extremely important to our students, our youth. We need to take a stand and really invest in our schools. We must support quality education. There's so much to be done. We must be proactive. Instead of merely providing the minimum, let's see if we can really think big. We must. We cannot graduate students who are college and career ready unless we change our course. Stop sending a message that teachers and programs don't matter, that our students don't matter. The WEA is committed to supporting our schools. We are here to support students. An override and debt exclusion costing approximately $50 for the median household is a very small price to pay in support of our schools and our students. We are asking the Board of Selectmen to give us a chance, support a budget that allows teachers and programs to stay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Myers. Is there anybody else who would like to address the committee? The only thing I would add to that eloquent and articulate statement is the fact that we are scheduled to go before the Board of Selectmen on June 12th at 7 p.m. It may end up being a little later than that, about 7:30, we're told by the chairman. I would encourage anybody who has the time and inclination to be there to show their support, because in addition to those people that Ms. Mars represents, the school committee feels strongly that the citizens should have the opportunity to express their views. Regardless of what those views are, they should have the right to express those views at the ballot box. So that's June 12th at 7 p.m. Board of Selectmen meeting. Thank you again, Chris. We'll move on to good news. I'd like to start the good news with two presentations. Some of you, God, I don't have a mic, 1 second. Some of you may think that that this young member of our committee who sits up here and has all these interesting things to say is just a young adult in the community. But in fact, she's still a student. And unfortunately, as one of my colleagues reminded us earlier, she actually has the audacity to leave us after having been in the school for 4 years. So tonight is an opportunity for the school committee to recognize Jessica Hansen for all the work she has done for the community in her role as student representative. Jessica? Just to add a few more things. I've been lucky enough to experience quite a few school representatives. I think it's fair to say all of them have been a pleasure. But Jessica has shown wit, intelligence, the ability to articulate her thoughts, and to be such a good representative of her fellow students, and to participate in a way that has made her 2 years? 2.5 years? I think a special contribution. So once again, thank you, Jessica. Would you like to tell us what you're going to do next year?
Sure. Next year, I will be entering Springfield College. I will be entering their 6-year doctorate physical therapy program, which I'm really excited about.
Outstanding. Good luck. Our second presentation is to a person who unfortunately is sitting in the stands and not up here at the table with us. That's no reflection on our newest member, Mike, but he really isn't as good at looking as... but in all seriousness, being a member of a school committee is in fact a lot of work. It's also a big responsibility. Your commitment to your community, your willingness to do that work, your willingness to try and reflect on what is in the best interest of your constituency, the people who put you in office, the people who expect you to care about the children of Wareham, is a huge responsibility. I think Rachel Gillette did that to an extraordinary extent. We miss her already, and we are so glad that she's here to accept this presentation. Come on up, Rachel. The only other thing I will add is that the good news for the community is that Rachel is still a public servant. She is part of the Onset Fire Department and is doing really good work there, and something tells me that she's going to be back perhaps someday representing her constituency, maybe not on the school committee, but in some other capacity, because she has a lot to offer to this community. Rachel, thank you. Anything you want to add? Okay.
I'm still around.
Dr. Rabinovich, any other good news?
I do. The Minot Forest Elementary School fifth graders received first and second place awards and honorable mention at a ceremony for winners of the annual Massachusetts Aggression Reduction Center's Bullying, Poetry, and Poster Contest held at Bridgewater State College on Tuesday, May 1st. Of all the winning students completed in the fifth grade poster category and responded to the prompt, write a letter to a victim of bullying, what would you say to them? Brianella Dillon won first place for her poster. McKenna Tavares Platt and Talia Messia won second place for the poster. And Michelle Sylvia, Aiden Sullivan, and Cameron Osborne won honorable mention. Congratulations to the students who won in this contest.
All set?
I'm all set.
Any other good news from the committee? Okay, moving on to the minutes.
I got good news.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
Yes.
don't want to jump on everybody's thing. I guess one of the things that I attended this weekend, Friday night, was a really, really wonderful thing. And I can't...
Cliff, can you talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry. I can't begin to... no one has ever accused me of being soft. I can't begin to thank the committee, the board of directors for the Wareham, the Foundation for Wareham Education. We had a taste of Wareham on Friday night, and it was held over at the Makepeace Center. And I tell you, it was fantastic. The food was fantastic. The beverage was fantastic. The company was fantastic, and it was really coming together for a real sound cause, which is to provide opportunities for our teachers to apply for grants, to expand the educational opportunities of our kids, to do things that are just a little bit out of the ordinary. So I think that the Education Foundation has really come of age, and we looked for more people to be involved in it. But for my count, roughly, I'd say we had at least 150 to 200 people in the hall, and it was really a wonderful thing. So I congratulations to the folks at the foundation. We applaud their work, and for the teachers that applied for grants and received grants, hopefully they will expand the horizons of their students. Secondly, one that's close to my heart, and we've got some folks in the audience, the DECA had their, I believe it's their 23rd spaghetti supper auction last Saturday night, Sunday. And I guess that was very successful. From my reports, unofficially, they had about 250 people that they fed. The auction was very successful. And again, it just highlights the dedication of our teaching staff, but particularly our students, because you know, an awful lot of the activities that happen at the high school are student-run, student-driven, and we don't give them enough credit. And so even though we're in financial problems, and even though I have some strong feelings about what might be happening in a district, and I haven't made my feelings, I haven't kept my feelings from being public. I think we still are maintaining, as well as we can, a quality educational experience for our kids with the resources that we have available to us. I think Jessica's a perfect example of that. So I don't want to give up the ship, but I just want to applaud those that have taken the extra step in providing positive experiences for our kids. So thank you again.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Dr. Sylvia did remind me, I was at the DECA auction, and being one of the students of the first class back in '74, it was wonderful, and I know where Dr. Sylvia's daughter gets her mouth from. She was an auctioneer and absolutely fantastic. She had everyone's attention, and I bought stuff that I don't even need.
Just to shut her up,
Yeah,
right?
They did a great job, all the students serving the spaghetti and everything, and it was a very, very good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have a couple.
Jessica.
Oh, I have one more thing.
Oh, do
I
you wanna go
forgot.
first?
Huh?
Jessica,
can
you
go.
have the floor.
You have
If
the
you'd
floor.
like to.
I had one more thing.
Jessica,
Go ahead,
are you
Jess.
giving up the floor to Dr. Sylvia?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you can go. Is it Pirates of Penzance?
No.
Well, I attended also the Pirates of
It was
Penzance.
very good though. The
Job well done.
play was very good.
Our drama club, the Viking Theater Group, did a wonderful job in Pirates of Penzance. And unfortunately, I just wish that we had more citizens that would go to these plays because they really do an outstanding job. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a wonderful performance, and I look forward to the next one.
The play was very good.
It was.
I went to their Saturday night one, the final one. I just wanted to add that this Friday we have Promenade and Prom. Very exciting time for us all.
Yes, people are missing tennis practice for prom.
Are they really?
I don't understand it.
They
gotta
better
get-
put
they
their
gotta get their hair
priorities in
ready.
order, right?
I just don't understand it.
Teenagers, what can you do? And then graduation is on Friday, June 1st in Splainfield, but if it rains, then it will be that Saturday. Just want to let everybody know,
Outstanding.
as
Thank you.
teenagers.
ThanI Mr. Chair.
It's doing their nails. I
I
don't
know.
understand it. Okay, we finished with good news?
Yes.
Moving on to the minutes of May 9th. I will
move
take
it.
a motion for approval.
I move we approve as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you. Policy Review Committee, please.
All right, you have a lot of policies in your packet. I'm going to try to get through them. What was nice is that in the superintendent's newsletter, you saw an overview of what those changes are, but I'll kind of go over them high level. For the first one, the internship site, there were really just grammatical changes only. Mr. Chair, would you like to take these one at a time?
Yes, I would.
So any questions on the internship site?
Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
I move to accept as presented.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Energy management, conservation, grammatical changes, and changes to number 3 to read energy management is his or her building will be the responsibility of the building principal.
I move we accept as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
For residency regulation, before the listing, added the word documents and added sentences, all authorized caregivers must provide the completed caregiver authorization affidavit and one of the following. And we deleted the last bullet. This was really just to, clear up some of the language in the policy.
Okay.
I move to accept as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Security visitors to school building. We added bullet number 4, which read, all volunteers are held to the core requirements policy and must conform to the security visitors to school building policy. This really didn't, the security visit. So we wanted to make sure that in this policy, it was understood that, you know, all volunteers are also held to the core requirement policy.
I move we accept the policy as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Search and seizure, there was only grammatical changes there.
I move we accept the policy as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Please.
I have a problem with the part here. School administrators maintain the right to seize items in a student's possession and to search school property, lockers, desks, etc., assigned to a student and any vehicles parked on the school property under the following guidelines. I don't think a school administrator should have the right to search any student's vehicle. That should be done by the resource officer or police officer. Even though it's on school property, I don't think that saying a assistant principal or whoever has the right to go in a student's car.
I just want to understand your objection. Are you saying it's a bad policy, or are you saying there's a legal issue about their legal right to do so?
I can't comment on the legal right. I'm not sure of that. But I think it puts them in a bad position to have a principal, assuming that's an administrator, to go in someone's vehicle, because if I had a student there, I'd make an issue out of it that they have no right to go through my son, daughter's car,
So-
and that should be done by a police officer.
So even if it's legal, you don't think it's a good idea?
I don't.
Okay. Any comments on that or anything else? Yes.
Hearing that, I tend to agree. I mean, if we have a resource officer anyway, you know, why not put him to use?
Yes.
The only thing that I would say is that, you know, last year, we didn't have a resource officer. And so, I mean, is that, if there is an issue that's going on, do we then have to wait to have the, you know, there's a situation where it has to be handled immediately, and we don't have a resource officer, and so now we're not leaving it in the hands of the school administrator to make that call? Because again, we went the whole year last year, at least half a year last year, without a resource officer.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, you get in a very touchy situation, because even if a police officer pulls someone over, they have to believe that there's something in the vehicle that they can search it, or in most cases, they have to get a search warrant. To give that authority to a school administrator just to go through somebody's car, if it happens to mine, then we're gonna have an issue.
Mr. Chair? through
Yes.
you. Let me just ask, Kenny, just a point of clarification, is it just the vehicle, like, or is it also the lockers and the desks? Is it only, the concern that you have only has to do with the vehicles?
The vehicle belongs to the student or parents. I don't have a problem with the lockers and things in the school. I just think a vehicle outside on the lot, an administrator should not have the authority to go through that vehicle.
I'd like to hear Dr. Rabinovich's,
I think Dr. Sylvia may
okay?
Well,
enlighten.
not to disagree with Kenny, because I understand exactly what he's saying. But in terms of safety, first of all, let's take a look at the legal ramifications of it. Sometimes, and I'm speaking as an ex-high school principal, sometimes you have circumstances that you have to move fast. You have safety issues in which you have to move fast. The state statutes gives the principal the right not only to search the vehicle, but to search the personal belongings of someone, a purse or whatever, if they feel that there is a reasonable suspicion that there is the possibility of harm to themselves or to someone else, or that a law is being broken. So I think that there's a fine line here, and I understand exactly where Mr. Font is going with this, but if a principal has a right to search a purse, certainly they should have the right to search a car. I think that once that car is on school property, there is a reasonable assurance that, you know, we have to keep our children safe. And if there's anything of a nature that would put our students at risk, or if it would provide some kind of unlawful activity, certainly we would want to call the police. But in terms of the legal authorizations, in some cases, the law provides the principal with a greater latitude than it even provides for the police officer. So on this particular issue, I think that if we exempt the vehicles, then we have to exempt pocket searches, and we have to exempt pocketbook searches, and we have to exempt searches of personal belongings, bags, knapsacks. So I think that you know, it's all subject to the rights of the school administrator if, in fact, these situations, these 5 situations are prevalent. So as much as I admire my former student and my colleague, I think that we have to be consistent on this, and to exclude the cars would mean to exclude bags and handbags and knapsacks and anything else.
Just if I can concur with Dr. Sylvia's interpretation, he is right. The Mass General Law does allow principals much more latitude on school property, and that's the key. The parking, in fact, in the handbook, I'm sure there is a statement to the fact that if you choose to park on school property, then your vehicle may be searched, and it's for exactly the reason that was stated. It's about safety. If we have the suspicion of drugs or weapon, we need to be able to act, and we need less a surety of probable cause than a police officer does. And we would hate to have something happen because, you know, somebody had to be read their rights, and parents call, and then somehow it disappeared or blew up or, God forbid, kind of thing. So that's why school administrators are given that right, and believe me when I say that we don't abuse it, because we know what the consequences are. But if it's a matter of safety and trying to keep kids safe, it's like when we give breathalyzers before the prom. You know, it's for safety, and you know, it's part of the ticket, and kids know they have to go through the process. And but if the committee would feel more comfortable, I can send this for the legal opinion, and specifically about the cars, to Naomi, if that's what the committee wishes. So, you know, if there's still questions.
Jessica, I have a question, and then you're welcome to weigh in on this if you like. The question I have is, do you think your fellow students recognize the right of the school principal to inspect all aspects of the property that they bring to the school, including their car?
The students know that they have the possibility of their car being searched. Not only is it in their handbooks, but I've seen signs specifically in the back parking lot where juniors mostly park, and there are signs stating that your car may be searched if there's reasonable suspicion.
And has any student ever, if you wish to divulge this, expressed an opinion about this right to you?
I know we've talked about it in Mr. Lazarus's constitutional law class. We spent a long time on what your rights are and the differences between out in the real world, as he would state it, and on school grounds. And his words, not mine. And we all understand the ramifications of having it in place, but we also see the safety sides of that, because your purse can't hold as much stuff as your car can, and you can put a lot more things in your car, whether it be illegal substances or weapons or anything of that sort. And so we see the need to have that in place, not only for our safety, but for the faculty and administration too.
As usual, a nice comment. I'm glad to have you here. Anything else you'd like to share?
I think it should be in there, personally. And I agree that it is, from what I know, that it's legally sound.
Thank you. I have a question about number 2. It specifically says that if we're going to enter a person's locker, that this, quote, may be done, if possible, in the presence of the student. It would seem to me that there's nothing unique about a locker, that if you're going to enter a purse, a car, a locker, if you're going to enter someone's private space, so to speak, that they should either have the right to be present or they shouldn't have the right to be present. And I wonder why we're distinguishing between a locker and a car in this provision.
I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, Dr. Rabinovich, do you have?
I think it's a matter of expediency, of asking the student to open the locker rather than going to get the master key or so forth, as well as there may be multiple bags and you want them to open them and to take things out to help with the search. In actuality, I would think it would make sense to have them present at the car to open it up as well.
Yeah.
So,
and to the best of your knowledge, I'm not sure I like the word may. Perhaps it should be will or shall, but putting that aside, to the best of your knowledge, is that in fact honored? In other words, when we do these searches with canines, for example, when we open lockers, is the student allowed to be there, encouraged to be there?
yes, but the dog's first hit on a locker.
Understood.
Then the dog isn't there anymore, and then you bring the student to the locker and you say, is this your locker? Open the locker, and then they're responsible for what's inside.
I guess if it's not too much trouble, I would like number 2 to be either reworded tonight or, sure, go ahead.
The problem comes with a safety issue, okay? Again, God forbid, but when we had that rash of problems at the middle school, and if somebody identified a particular locker, okay, then we're not gonna bring the child back in to stand next to it when we open it. What we would do is we would give the key to particular law enforcement, or the administrator will have looked in there. So I would caution putting something stronger about will or whatever.
Well, your sensitivity to this may be perfectly appropriate, but I was actually more concerned with the fact that this shouldn't be uniquely lockers. That if you're entering a vehicle, that's certainly as much a private space as a locker. And to Ken's point, it's a big deal. So if we're going to give them the right, essentially the right to be present if possible for the locker, I think they should be present if possible for their car.
Yes, as long as we have that phrase, if possible.
Well, I'm not suggesting we take out if possible.
That's what I was afraid we.
No. I wasn't suggesting we take out if possible. I was suggesting that may not be the best grammatical way of expressing what you want to express. So I guess
It's the legalese, though, of when we get between may, shall, and will that I worry about.
I'm thinking that perhaps we should just take, substitute the term locker with private possessions. But even that doesn't
No.
quite work.
No.
It doesn't
Because
work.
the lockers-
So is it possible to bring this back?
Well-
Mr. Chair, we have a motion in a second.
We do have a motion in a second. Thank you. Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay. Are you willing to withdraw it?
Let's vote it up or down.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'm inclined to vote it down for the reasons stated.
Well, that's your right, but Dr. Sylvia wants a vote, and I respect that.
That's all I have to say, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
No. All abstain. I think that was 1-4-0. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's reword it and come back, because we do want this policy on the, because it stands as written, absent any positive vote by this committee.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Should we take a shot tonight to reword it, or do you feel that, I mean, as the chair of the policy review, I don't know if this would, well, I'll ask my fellow member on this policy review whether you think this warrants discussion back at the policy review, or if we could just go ahead and,
If it doesn't change the basic meaning of the policy or the basic direction of the policy, I don't think it has to go back to the committee. So it depends on what the amendment is.
Do you have?
I don't know what the
Diplomatic
amendment's gonna
answer.
be.
Exactly. Do you have some language you'd like to propose now?
yeah, yes, I think so.
Okay.
So we maintain the right to search,
Are you revising number 2?
yes,
Okay.
any possession.
Wait a minute, no, number
So
2?
deleting, yeah, number 2, deleting, it's gonna take me a couple minutes, but, I mean, basically, we maintain the right to search any possession at any time for inspection purposes. This may be done if possible in the presence of a student and shall be done under the direction of the school administrator. So we're taking out any reference to, lockers remain the property of Wareham
I
schools.
think that works, but could you read it slowly this time?
No, I'm gonna only read it faster. We maintain the right to search any possession at any time for inspection purposes. This may be done if possible in the presence of the student and shall be done under the direction of the school administrator. And I'm sure that folks on the committee might have problems with, we maintain the right to search any possession, and I'm open to changing that. But we maintain the right to search
Dr. Rudinovich, any comments on the new language?
instead of any possession.
Certainly broad.
I'm okay with it, but I would prefer to send it for a legal opinion to make sure it allows us to do what we need to do.
I couldn't vote on that amendment.
Okay, let's let Naomi weigh in. It's actually not an unimportant policy, and I think we need to get it right.
And Michelle and I can look up other districts, their policies, and compare them so we can see where the differences are.
Ken,
and
do
bring
you have
it
a
back.
point?
Do we need to put that in a motion to ask the superintendent to get clarification, legal clarification on that? And also,
I don't
the
think-
policy review can reword this and send it back?
I don't
because
think
I'm
we
not
need it
gonna
as a
vote on
motion,
tonight.
because it was voted down, I think it automatically goes back.
Fine.
Okay? We all set? Okay, let's move on to the next one.
All right, Michelle, I have suggested changes, just so you can have them, and I'll send those to you. Student account, student activity account. Ms. Miranda did a great job of changing this policy to reflect and comply with the MASBO's guidance. It's really about auditing purposes and accounting purposes. So, I mean, this has changed significantly. It talks a lot about not only how you need to receive the funds, keep records on the funds, that there's going to be an audit of it. It really goes into great detail of how student activity accounts are going to be handled. Again, this policy does comply with the regulations that have been set down from the state. We made just a couple minor changes in from what was submitted in number 11 and number 12. Just in number 11, it wishes to clarify some of the language, and in number 12, we wanted to make sure that a monthly report should be submitted to the Director of Finance after review and approval of the principal. We wanted to make sure that the principal was aware of the report that was submitted to the Director of Finance before it actually went there. So those are the two additions that the policy review committee added.
I'll take a motion.
I'll move that student activities account policy be accepted as presented.
Do I have a second?
Point of order.
Yes,
This is coming forth from the committee, the policy committee, correct?
correct.
And who was on the policy committee? Rhonda and
Yes.
Mr. Sylvia. I always thought when something comes forth from a committee that it doesn't require a second. It's on behalf of the committee and it doesn't need a second.
I am not familiar with that parliamentary point of order. Michelle, do you have any comment on that?
Well, it's been past practice, and we are the policymakers, so I think for the record, we should continue to
Okay.
voice a
It's
vote
an
on it.
interesting point. Although the Policy Review Committee is a subcommittee of the committee as compared to the Superintendent Advisory Committees, they do not have the ability to set policy without a full vote of the committee. So I'm not sure why
We
they
can
would.
talk about it later, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine. All right, I'll second it, just,
I appreciate
yeah,
that.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500?
That was an aye.
Oh, was-
No, I was voting in favor.
Okay,
I just
good.
missed.
500. Next.
The hiring policy, we added a number 6, hiring and promoting employees must be in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 194, Conflict of Law Interests. The hiring policy just didn't reference the Mass General Law. We talked a lot about many things that are in the Mass General Law, Chapter 194, Conflict of Interest Law, and we just said instead of trying to add everything into this policy, let's just reference it. And so it needs to, the hiring and promoting of employees must be in accordance with that general law.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
Somebody else moved this one.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Okay, so the last one is the query requirements. There were no changes here where the committee focused most of their time was just procedurally. And I think that I might ask for the superintendent to come back, or maybe on one of our agenda items that we talk about the procedures for the query, the procedures around query records, queries being done, refreshed every year, how they're being evaluated at the building level as well as the administrator level. So I think I want to talk more. The policy is set, and it's what it should be, but there are procedures that I'd like to review, and the committee has already made recommendations to Dr. Rabinovich, and maybe just as a group to be able to review our query procedures when it comes to doing query checks, as well as the continued evaluation of valid and updated and current queries. So the policy is exactly the same.
Yes, what I recommend is one of our, after we're done with the 6 school improvement plans, so one of our July meetings, we can bring that as part of the superintendent's report, have a conversation.
Sounds good.
Corey, is Corey a for-profit corporation that provides this service that we pay for?
I think it's a government entity.
Massachusetts government, and we don't pay for it.
So it's a
We're an
service
educational-
provided by the state government that we don't pay for directly?
Correct,
Correct.
because we're a municipality.
Thank you.
As a I'm sorry, through you, share as a nonprofits pay though, but
No.
not. Anyway,
I
doesn't matter.
only know that we
Okay.
don't pay. I don't know
Okay,
about it.
good. I'll take a motion
So
from
moved.
anybody but Dr. Sylvia.
So
Yes.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you.
That's faster than I thought.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you both for the good work. I just have one thing under committee reports. This, I'm about to pass out to you, something that Michelle prepared for me. I don't think Justin needs one of those. This is a list of all of the people, both individuals and groups, that are under contract to the school committee. You'll note that there are a lot of things between now and the end of December, a lot of either individuals or contracts between now and the end of December that are expiring. The three I wanted to point out to you are the cafeteria managers, the secretaries, and the Unit B administrators. Underneath the list, you'll see the school committee representatives assigned to the contracts. I would like to ask that, Mike, that you take Rachel's place, working with Rhonda with the cafeteria employee managers. We'll deal with the fact that Rachel's on this list a couple more times when that comes up. And is there anybody who would like to join me with Unit B administrators?
I would.
Was that a yes or yes?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's okay.
fine? Okay, thank you, Ken. Okay, so, you have that, Michelle? Okay.
So that was,
Ken and I will be doing the Unit B. I'll keep it for continuity, just as,
and do you have some dates, since they've already asked to meet?
do we have some dates? We can discuss that afterwards.
Okay.
That's fine.
Mr.
and-
Chair, you can slot me in any way you want.
Okay, I will do so when we get to the other two, for custodians and bus drivers. Moving along. Dr. Rabinovich.
Just a couple of quick things. One is, at the end of the meeting, I'd also like to get together with the budget subcommittee to schedule a meeting. Budget advisory committee.
Yes.
Excuse me. And the curriculum technology advisory committee. I'd also like to get that on the books so that we get both of those meetings in within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Fine, good.
Okay.
Please,
and-
please don't leave without checking with Dr. Rabinovich on your calendars.
Depends how long the meeting goes.
Okay. You heard this evening that we have been invited to the June 12th BOS meeting. And I know that I sent all of you a copy of the letter that I sent Chairman Holmes. And I will send to you in the mail a copy of the ballot questions that I have had vetted by bond counsel and the short explanations. The explanations have to be very brief and specific because they cannot be, they can't be persuasive, just informational. And I've sent them to the town's council to make sure that he's okay with them. I'm waiting for that. I'll have to call him, but I have the document ready. Perhaps, Mr. Font, you might be available for a meeting with the town clerk, as we've done before, so that we can have those questions answered before we go to June 12th, because I'm sure that's going to come up about. And we do know that the cost for the special election is $14,333.38. Mary Ann was good enough to give us that, so that I have that cost.
Just to be specific, what she actually gave us was the cost of the April
April
2nd
3rd,
or
right.
3rd or whatever it was, election, and with the presumption that it would be very similar when they schedule this, if they schedule this special election.
There have been some discussion or rumors of discussion about, why can't we wait until September primary? By statute, you can only have 3 ballot questions added to a state primary. We have 5, so we can't. The second part of it is, every week that people are unemployed, and it's questionable whether they can start collecting as soon as June 20th, or whether they have to wait until September 1st. But each week, the town becomes liable for $5,000 in unemployment costs. So the sooner that the election happens, the better off we'll be. And the other part of this is that there are only 3 votes necessary to have the override placed on the ballot. There are 4 votes necessary to put the debt exclusions. That's because you're asking to borrow money, so there's a higher bar to reach for borrowing money than to override people to have their taxes increased. And so, once again, Ms. Mars had mentioned it, but just to clarify, it's a $50 charge to that median household of $230,000 for the override, the $780,000, and approximately $20 for 5 years to pay off all of the debt exclusions, including the Minot Forest feasibility study, which we will get 60% back on. So I look forward to the June 12th discussion with the Board of Selectmen, and at our budget advisory committee, perhaps we will discuss how we should make the presentation.
Just to be clear, on June 12th, we'll be posting that as a meeting of the school committee. So you're all encouraged to attend. If you can't attend, we understand it because it's a Tuesday night, not a Wednesday night, but you're all welcome to be there. Mike?
Best case scenario, if they decide to move forward, when would the
There's a 35-day posting, I believe, of the questions. So if they vote that evening, I'm thinking that we're talking the end of July for the election, which means we would be able to start hiring people back at the beginning of August,
Okay,
which
thank
will allow principals to reschedule their buildings with the additional staff that they need.
And the jury's out on whether or not, in the best case scenario, whether it would cost us anything, because we don't know when the benefits kick in.
That is correct. Unemployment, believe it or not, is somewhat unpredictable, because there are times when the rules seem very clear that somebody cannot collect, and then there's a ruling made and they're allowed to collect.
But these would be for positions that wouldn't even, would they be working? Do they get paid in the summer as well?
Teachers get 5, which we call them summer checks, on the last day of the school year. So there is an interpretation that you paid through August 30th. There's another interpretation that you only get paid for the 183 days that you work, and since you worked 183 days, therefore, you're now unemployed, and you have a letter in your hand that says you don't have assurance of a position for the fall. And that's what's happened before with us with permanent intermittent subs. They have been allowed to collect if they don't have an assurance letter.
I was gonna say, we couldn't be the first ones to go through this.
No,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're not.
The contract, however, with the Wareham Education Association is in fact through August 30th.
Gotcha.
Anything else, Dr. McMillan?
That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the vote to participate in the school choice for 2012-2013. Dr. Rabinovich?
Okay, I recommend that the Wareham Public Schools continue as a school choice district for the 2012-2013 school year and accept students grades kindergarten through grade 12, depending on class size, and that no students will be accepted to the West Wareham Academy.
Okay, there may be some discussion, but I'll take a motion and then we can discuss it.
So moves.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion? Could you clarify as the reason for the exclusion of the West Wareham Academy?
West Wareham Academy is tuition-based, so that if a student from another district wants to come. Choice is approximately $6,500. We charge, I believe, $21,000.
No, we're up to almost
28,000 if somebody wants to send their student there. So that's why it's not part of choice, so that we can get a higher tuition. It's monetary.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. Thank you. We will now do 2 school improvement plans, and we welcome both Wendy Miranda and Kathy Moore-Minkle. Wendy, I guess you're up first.
As Wendy is getting ready for her presentation, I didn't realize it, but Friday night when she attended the Foundation for Wareham Education, she had a temperature, and today's her first day without a temperature, and so every once in a while you're going to hear that coughing coming out.
We'll
Sorry.
try not to give you a temperature.
I apologize in advance for the coughing. It's annoying. It's annoying.
Okay, we got the computer going, but we didn't start the projector. Wendy, if you want to start talking while that's getting up.
Okay.
As one of our school committee members
No, you're not
likes
even-
to say.
No,
I'm not allowed to say it,
no,
okay.
you're not allowed to say.
What aren't you allowed to say?
Nothing, you're on.
Nothing.
I'm
And
on.
I'm not saying anything. I've been good.
You're being very good. Thank you.
No, they're just as regular. Okay, so West Wareham Academy. West Wareham Academy is a therapeutic day school. We service students in grades 7 through 12. Our students are all on individual education plans. We service our students that have severe social and emotional disabilities. Our mission of West Wareham Academy is to fulfill the needs of the students here in our district. In the past, we have sent our students out of the community, and one of the major goals and the mission of West Wareham is to have our students included and be able to educate them academically, socially, emotionally, and prepare them to go out and to become members in the community. And some of our goals are that we utilize the IEP team process. That would be using the process. That is how a student becomes a West Wareham student. It would start at either from the middle school or the high school through the IEP team process, and the team would recommend a placement of West Wareham Academy. We also have students who come from out of district who they transfer in, or as Mr. Lozan had said, that we have a tuition. So we have tuition students from the surrounding towns also that attend West Wareham. We provide a therapeutic component to our students. We're a Walker partnership where we have an on-site counselor. We have a behavior interventionist along with our academic teachers and paraprofessionals. We also have a psychiatrist who is a consultant who works with staff, works with students, individual students, troubleshoots. If we're having trouble with a case with a student, he'll come and give us some ideas. He's willing to work with families. So that sets us apart as a therapeutic component for the school. All our academics are individually designed. Our students currently mirror the middle school and the high school. We are constantly aligning with both the middle and the high school. I'm pretty proud of our academics. I think that was probably one of our biggest goals, my personal goal of when I took over the role at West Wareham was just to make sure that our students that were there were given the same academic opportunities as the middle and the high school. And our teachers have worked very hard with both the middle school and the high school to align the curriculum. Our enrollment. Currently, in grade 7, we have 2 students. In grade 8, we have 5. Grade 9, 2. Grade 10, 4. Grade 11, 4. And grade 12, we have 2. We have 2 seniors who will be graduating with Wareham High School students on June 1st. So that's pretty exciting. The families are very excited, and the students are also excited. Projected for next year, as of today, I mean, and the number seems to change. We have no 7th graders for next year currently. We have 2 8th grade students, 5 9th grade, 2 10th, 4 11th, and we have 4 seniors next year that will be graduating as well. Currently, our enrollment, we have 1 out-of-district student. We have 8 Wareham High School students and 5 Wareham Middle School students who have transitioned to West Wareham Academy through the IEP team process. We have 5 students that have moved into the district with day school IEPs. Otherwise, we would have been, if we didn't have West Wareham Academy, we would have been sending those day school students automatically out to out-of-district placements.
Mr. Chair.
1 second, Wendy.
Yes.
At what cost to the district?
Approximately $40,000 per student,
Thank you.
plus transportation.
Plus transportation. Thanks. Currently, we have 37% of our population is made up of students who are in the foster care system. So we have, as you can see, a large deal of our population are students who actually move into Wareham through the foster care system. Our attendance, as I said before, we have 2 out of 2 of our seniors who are graduating, and our attendance continues to be an ongoing struggle. Our students do significantly struggle with mental health. They have mental health crises. Some of them have to end up being hospitalized for a period of time, so they do end up missing some school. But I am proud to say as we ran our numbers for April, we had a 27% decrease in student absenteeism compared to last year. So that was a positive. And I think that it plays part in our attendance incentives. We have a behavior modification system. It's a daily point and level, and students earn different points and can earn different levels depending upon their behavior. And a set criteria. For our attendance incentives, every day that a student attends school, they receive a token, or we call them saves. They receive that on their point sheet, and those are later used in our school store. They can cash them in and purchase something from the school store, which the students run. Our discipline, I'm happy to say that last year we had 179 discipline referrals, and this year we have 97. So there's been a 46% decrease in discipline referrals. And I attribute that to the work of our staff and our behavior interventionists. We've created a citation system this year where the behavior interventionist for different levels of discipline infractions, we would have a citation, and the behavior interventionist works individually with students to come up with different sort of behavior plans to help them achieve their goals.
Wendy,
Yes.
Mike Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City, is famous for a pilot of actually paying kids for results and to try and incent them to perform better in schools. I notice in a future slide you actually have half your kids are happy to be there, enjoy school. I have to believe that the attendance problem is somehow associated with the fact that half of them aren't happy to be in school. is there any research about using incentives with students?
I'm not sure of any definite research.
I mean, you're using an incentive, you know, to try and improve attendance. I'm not suggesting that I criticize your initiative. I just wondered what the data suggests about using incentives to
Increase
create
attendance.
better behavior and better academic results.
Well, I think
for
the
students.
positive reinforcement, I'm not saying necessarily to the attendance, that's probably not totally attributed to the attendance, but positive reinforcement rather than being punitive definitely more motivates a student to do better than to be penalized.
Why do you think half of the kids are unhappy being at school?
It's funny, when I got those results back, I said, what? It doesn't even seem possible, because so many of the kids have many positive things to say every single day when they come in. I thought, well, or it could have been the day, you know, maybe somebody had just got into trouble, and then, you know, and our numbers are so small with the amount of kids, so that then the data's kind of skewed. We had 16 out of the 19 students who did the survey. So, and out of those 16 students, I mean, a couple could have said something and it would have ended up being, you know,
Bob,
the
do you have
data.
I would just add posturing. If you ask kids who have had some difficulties in school, do you love school? They're not going to necessarily say to you, yes, I love school. But they're the same kids that will show up on the doorstep the last day of school because they don't know what to do if they're not there. So I think the posturing factor is a major one. Students aren't necessarily going to say, yes, I absolutely love school, because it's not the cool thing to do.
I was just going to say, and it's not the cool thing to do. They want to pretend that.
How was the survey taken? Was it anonymous?
Yes, it was online.
It was online, so
It was
there was
online.
no peer pressure to answer because...
No, they took it individually on a laptop.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I mean, I would also say it could be just the way that it's written. So if you basically say, do you like being at school? No, I'd rather be home playing video games. If somebody basically said to me, do you like work? It depends what they mean by that question. So,
Be at the beach.
you know what I mean? It could be the day. I wasn't surprised by that number at all, because it really just does depend on so many factors.
Continue, thank you.
Our staff data, I kind of did this already. We have 3 teachers, 2 paraprofessionals, a counselor, behavior interventionist, a 0.5 secretary, a 0.25 PE teacher, and a 0.5 custodian. 66.6% of our staff has bachelor's degrees, 22% have master's degrees, 11% have CAGs or two master's degrees, and all of our teachers hold certification in special education.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just a real point. So is anyone currently employed under a bachelor's degree, or everyone has at least a minimum of a bachelor's degree?
Everyone has a minimum of
Okay,
a
that just
bachelor's.
confused me a little bit. Thank you.
Actually, I believe that only two of the teachers have masters and one has a bachelor's.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, that's okay. I can't go back. That's okay. Just hit previous.
Thanks.
Our student performance data, our high school students, for our ELA, we had 57% of our students were in proficient range, 42.8 were in needs improvement in ELA, and zero students were in the failing or warning. Mathematics, we had 37.5 that were proficient, 50% of our students were in needs improvement, and actually it's 12%, I don't know, the 5 got in there, 12% were in warning or failing. And in science, it was 37.5% were proficient, 62.5% needs improvement, and 0 of our students were in failing or warning. Our middle school students, our ELA scores were 12.5% of our students were proficient, 37.5 needs improvement, and 50% were in warning or failing. For mathematics, there were no students that were proficient. 37.5 were needs improvement, and 62.5 were in warning or failing. Science was 33.3% proficient, 37.5 needs improvement, and 33.3 in warning or failing. Our high school students are moving forward into the needs improvement and the proficient range. Both of our seniors that are graduating this year scored within the 238 to 240 range in English. One of the students scored proficient in math with a score of 246, and both scored well above the required 220 in biology. They've made significant gains in ELA. There was a 20% of the students moved from the failing warning into needs improvement and proficient, so resulting in no students being in the failing or the warning for ELA. Students who scored for mathematics, students who scored within the proficient range increased by 17% compared to last year. There was an increase of 12% who fell within the warning of failure range. The 12% increase accounted, when I figured it out, it ended up that it was one student who had moved into our district through the foster care system who scored a 216. But all of the high school students who had been enrolled at West Wareham for the last 2 years have made gains from being from the warning failing range into either the needs improvement or the proficient. So they are moving over. 100% of the high school students have scored the required score of 220 or greater in the biology MCAS. And for the students who are still not meeting proficient, we are working on their educational proficiency portfolios, and they're continually gathering pieces of evidence to meet those standards. Our middle school students require more intervention, and I say that our high school students have been there for more time. Some of them are younger kids had just transferred in. So 12.5% decrease in the number of students who scored in the proficient range. There were no change in the percentage of students who scored within the needs improvement. And the students who fell within the warning and failing range increased by 12.5%. That 12.5 increase accounted for students who came into the Wareham Public School District, who had those scores coming into the district. And then students from the Wareham district fell within the proficient and needs improvement range. No students in grades 7 through 8 were proficient in mathematics. However, students did make gains. There was a 23.5% decrease in students who fell within the warning of failure range, and the 23.5% of the students that shifted from the warning failure range into the needs improvement. So they are making that shift. So the 23% of the students that were in the failing range shifted into the needs improvement. And as far as the science, there was 33% increase in students who scored within the proficient range, 8.3% increase in students who scored within the needs improvement range. So the overall trend appears that the students are moving over from the warning into the needs improvement, and some students are moving into the proficient. We had a 41.7 decrease of students who were in the failing range.
Yes.
West Wareham Academy has been we've had students in West Wareham Academy for this is our third year?
This is my second year, and I believe that it was the pilot year before.
Completion of the third year, plus we had a pilot
Pilot.
for a term.
How many students have been in the program multi-year?
Excuse me, in this.
Meaning, right, in this, like, are there students that have been at West Wareham Academy for all 3 years? Is the majority of the students
One of the
there?
seniors, yes. Yes.
One of the seniors
One
has
of
been
the
there
one
all
of the
3 years.
seniors has been there for 3 years. The other senior, this is his second year there. Our upperclassmen, our 11th grade and our 12th grade, I believe that one of the 11th graders, this would be his second year, right? So there's only one, the 12th grader, who's been there right from the beginning.
Because I think what would be great is to be able to see data, because there's not a lot of students here, but by students. So being able to see the students' growth based on the curriculum that they're receiving in the instructional.
From when they first entered West Wareham,
because again,
and then they've taken the retake.
Right.
For the MCAS, and their scores have improved. And that, for that senior, that's exactly what it was. He had failed the MCAS, and then for the retake, and then he ended up taking the retake, and he ended up scoring.
Because you're taking a look at the high school in the ninth. I mean, that's the reason why I just asked the question about, the students have gone through, and it would be nice to be able to see that student that's a senior right now. Did they fall? Did it look like this? Did that student, where we're talking about that most of the students are in needs improvement or weren't even failing, but because of the instruction that they're receiving there as they continue to move up through the program, that then we're seeing that kind of improvement.
So more
in there.
individual student scores tracking.
Right. And also being able to understand when a student first comes in, the needs that we're dealing with there, that then would, attribute to most of the students falling within needs improvements and warning failing.
Right, like the student that came in with the 216. Now, that student, because it was below the 220, was able to, this year they took the test again, actually, because they were 7th grade, then they were 8th grade. So it will be interesting to see what the score is this year coming back for the MCAS that we just got done taking.
And through you, Mr. Chair, Dr. Renish, I'm not looking for actual student names or, but student 1, student 2, just something like that. So then,
Sure.
I think because it's such a focused program and there's limited students there, we have the ability to do that in the school improvement plans to basically see from a student side
to track those students.
Right, the growth.
Sure, absolutely.
Wendy, you put NA next to projected 7th graders for next year.
As of right now.
As of right now.
Correct.
Is that based on a conversation with Mr. Gilmore?
Actually, today there was a conversation, maybe there could be one. But as of when I wrote the plan, yes, there were no projected 7th graders at that point.
It's dependent upon an IEP.
IEP team process,
So it isn't like the principal can say, I think this student should go there. It has to work itself through that team meeting where the program that their child is in is not successful, and you need to look for the next level that is least restrictive, which would be West Wareham.
I'm
for
just,
particular disabilities.
yeah, I understand. But these, all of them have IEPs, but they also have social emotional issues.
Correct.
But
That is the particular reason for their IEP.
exactly, yeah, fair enough.
And along with that social emotional, some students do have specific learning disabilities.
I understand. Once again, I'm just imagining this zero proficiency in mathematics, and
For the middle school.
yeah. Go ahead, thank you.
Our next slide is parent and community involvement. I'm happy to say that our school council has actually increased. We had another parent volunteer this year, so we have 2 parents who are on the school council. We have a community member this year who has volunteered their time, and our school resource officer also. Our experience learning class, they had written a proposal to the town of Wareham to refurbish a tennis court out on Carver Road, and their proposal was granted by the town, and along with their teacher, the students went out to the tennis court and started to refurbish it. They've been doing a really wonderful job cleaning the court up. Actually, the tennis court is being used now We went by and we saw people out there using the court, so the kids were pretty excited that all their work was paying off and that people were using the court, so that was great. They have another community project. They've been collecting recipes from family, friends, community members, and working to create a cookbook. It's kind of been moving in a slower pace than I had anticipated, but I guess I had anticipated that we'd get more community involvement. We had did a story in the Wareham Week. We put it in the newsletter. We put it up on the website. We had a flyer looking for recipes, but we really didn't receive a lot of recipes, so we kind of have been doing our own. So it's been a little bit slow going, but they're working on it. We also had Work Inc. came out to speak with the students about career choices and filling out job applications. We were able this year to go out to visit some community colleges. We went out to Massasoit in Cape Cod community and had the students had a chance to explore different career choices and different post-secondary education, along with collaborating with some outside community agencies such as the Department of Mental Health, the Department of Developmental Services, Mass Rehab. They have come out some of our meetings to talk with families about some adult services that would be provided to some of our students when they graduate. The Department of Children and Family, they have a new program called Youth Villages. I think it's one of the most amazing programs, and it's something that DCF has needed for years, where the youth village person partners with the home and the school, and they come out to the school and they work with the whole entire team for the whole of the child. So that has been very successful. I have a few pictures. These are just a couple of our pictures of our kids working on the tennis court. It was pretty great to see that when the kids went out and they started working, there were a few neighbors who came out and brought out wheelbarrows and brought out rakes and started helping the students. Mr. Zwalen is the teacher, and he had actually wrote a grant and received the grant money from the foundation to buy some of the supplies. But before that, we really didn't have any supplies. So one of the neighbors, even he was going for treatments to the doctors, and he would leave on his corner of his lot rakes and shovels and different things for the kids. So when the kids went by, they'd pick them up and then they'd use them and then bring them back. So the neighbors that surround the tennis court were very impressed with the kids and their behavior and their initiative. And these are just a couple more pictures of the tennis court and our cookbook project. The students in these pictures are uploading the recipes. And if you turn the page, I kind of took a picture of the computer screen. It's a computer program, and they upload the recipes into this program, and then they will do their design of the cookbook after everything is uploaded and edited. Our survey data for our parent responses and our student responses, really it was much different between the students and the parents, even though most of the students, really when you look at the actual numbers, the majority of the students do feel safe coming to school. They feel safe when they're at school, and I know that it said 50% of the students enjoy it and 50% do not. But the parents seem to be very happy with West Wareham and what we're doing for their children. And they feel that it's a safe environment for their students and that we're a supportive environment. I have just a comment from one of the parents that she wrote in the survey. I wanted to say that the compassion, dedication, and level of caring about my child at this school should not go unrecognized. parent and staff have an excellent relationship and communication. These are unbelievable teachers and staff, and I feel so grateful that I and my child have the opportunity to be around such a fabulous, structured, caring environment. So I've had a lot of parents who feel that this is a relief, a sense of relief for them, that this is the first time that their son or daughter has been successful. And they just feel that they're supportive. We have excellent communications with our parents. We may not have a lot of parent volunteers that come in, but I touch base with parents weekly, daily, in some cases, you know, and they just have needed that. They needed to feel that their student is important. And I think the staff at West Wareham Academy has demonstrated and shown them that every single one of those students are important, and they are valued members in this community, and they can achieve, and they will achieve. And that is just the message that's there, and parents are really appreciative of that. Our staff, the level of satisfaction with the parent involvement was 28% satisfied. You know, our parents are not really involved. They're not coming into school, but from my point, they do contact me. We do have telephone conversations. They write in notes, or they'll email me back and forth. The staff feel that it is a safe environment, and the majority of the staff is very satisfied with the discipline, and satisfied with the school culture and the support of their colleagues and from the administration.
Wendy, how do you think parents define success?
I think for many, it's being able to have their child actually come to school and attend school and care. You know, that they come home and they'll bring home their point and level sheet. I mean, as silly as it may sound to some of you who are sitting there. And the child is finally getting a sense of some sort of accomplishment and some self-confidence that I'm able to do this. And by that coming home and having that communication and being able to talk about education in the home, I think that those parents are feeling that their child is becoming more and more successful.
I'm not sure this is a fair interpretation of the data, but with 28% of the staff satisfied with parental involvement and 100% of the parents seemingly happy with the school, it almost seems like there's a disconnect between the parents and the staff with respect to expectations, the definition of success. Am I making sense?
Yes, yes. I can't speak for the staff, but in my mindset, I'm thinking they're thinking that the parents are not really involved, that they're not coming into school, they're not volunteering at the school, and that maybe you're right. The staff feel that success is a different measure than what the parents feel.
I can't help but think that a staff member looking at the numbers says that's just not acceptable, and if the parents push these kids in any number of ways that they could do better, but I'm hitting a parental wall in terms of trying to foster more rigor, greater expectations, et cetera, et cetera. But this is my comment from 50,000 feet, and if I'm way off.
I think in some cases, yes. And in some cases, some of these students have been hospitalized numerous times. So for some families, if their son or daughter has made it through one school year without having a hospitalization, without having a suicidal thought, then you know what? Then that's success for that family. That student is coming to school and that student has not been hospitalized, and that student is feeling that there is some value in education. Yes, they may not be proficient, they may not be to the level in which their teacher wants them to be, but that's our job to get them there. First, we need to take care of that's why we're a therapeutic school. We need to take care of their social emotional well-being and foster that, and then the rest can come. That's what teachers are there for. We will teach them that. But before we can do that, we have to jump over the other hurdle of getting them mentally, their mental health ready to be able to learn.
Thank you.
School safety, these are some of the
Excuse me,
comments. Oh,
1 second.
Could I ask a question on parents?
sure.
And just tell me what you think. Again, it's easy to sit up here and make suggestions and comments and so forth when the resources are as slim as they are. But I think whether a school the size of West Academy, I think it's imperative about parent involvement. There's all sorts of parent involvement. There's all kinds of expectations that parents have for their children, whether it be academic expectations, social expectations, medical expectations. And I think that in many cases, and I'm not trying to paint everybody with the same broad brush, but I think in many cases, parents, I feel disenfranchised in terms of their own ability to clearly define what their expectations are of the school system or their level of success, or how they define academic success for their children. So I think that we could probably do a little bit more outreach in terms of the home and working exclusively with the parents in terms of helping them develop their own sense of enabling them to provide their own sense of their own definition of academic success for their children, and also to help them clarify their own expectations. Because I think that in a lot of cases, they just don't, many parents just don't have the skill to do that. And I think that we as a school system, particularly in a school setting with those kind of students, with those social, academic, and emotional barriers, that a better outreach to parents might be something that would reap great benefits. So let's just throw that out there. I just don't think that a lot of parents have the capacity or the skill to develop their own levels of clarity.
Thank you.
Bob, did you have a comment?
I do have a comment, because I think one of the things that we have to add to that is that these parents have been engaged with the schools for many, many years. Unfortunately, their engagement has been around very, very negative things. And their satisfaction with West Wareham Academy, I believe, is that the message they consistently get is, we'll figure it out, we'll work it out, and it does get worked out. So their satisfaction, I think, reflects hope on their part that their child's going to be okay. And for many of them, it truly is the first time in a very long time, because their engagement has been through, there's another call from the principal, there's another problem, and maybe my child's out of school on another suspension and so forth. So I do think that that's a very big part of it, and their turnaround is realizing that there is hope there that they hadn't seen before.
I get that. I was just trying to reconcile the less than a third of the staff are satisfied with that parental involvement.
But I think their satisfaction, the staff's, is that they want to continue that engagement on their part. As Dr. Sylvia said, this is new territory for some of the parents, that they can actually have positive engagement when they walk into the school and they hear, geez, what a great job so-and-so did today. They haven't heard that before, and the staff want to get them in as much as they possibly can. I think that that's accurate, Wendy.
Yes, yes.
Fine. Thank you, Wendy. Go ahead.
School safety, these are some comments from the teacher survey. The areas of strength, the staff feel that they have been trained. Students are more invested in school. We have a small population. There are good protocols that are in place now, and there has been a reduction in physical altercations. The areas of concern were students who do not take their medications as prescribed. no area for safe containment, and school bus safety. Areas of strength in regards to school discipline. We have a variety of different consequences. The staff's approach, supportive administrator, students have clear understanding of rules, strict but fair, less discipline referrals, and the areas of concern, bus safety, and family support around disciplinary actions. In regards to school culture, the areas of strength where students have pride in their school, they have a positive atmosphere, students' investment in their learning, the introduction of the Peace Builders model, students care about their community, good relationships between staff and students, increased learning taking place, established routines, and setting high expectations for students. Areas of concern where some students can be cruel to each other and students in trouble with relationships. These students have few role models, new students who are entering West Wareham, and the school culture, an area would be a bus issue. Again, concerning.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by bus issue?
A bus issue with safety. That
Safe-
in the surveys that continues to come up, that the students on the bus, there were concerns around their safety on the bus and their behavior on the bus.
Okay.
Curriculum areas that still need to be strengthened would be reading and writing skills, better understanding of the Common Core, more integration of math, extracting important information from text, comprehension skills, and general comments. Many improvements have been made and more to come, and the program can work with accountability. So these were comments that the staff had made on their survey. And now move into the summary of the progress for last year's goals. Under student achievement, we had said that we would provide our staff with an overview of the Common Core, and we did that. Teachers have begun to incorporate the new frameworks into their daily lessons.
Wendy, you don't need to read it.
Okay. They've collaborated with the middle school and the high school and worked along with the literacy, with the English department from the high school and the middle school to align with the scope and sequence. The middle school and the high school department heads have been wonderful with working with the English teacher over at West Academy. The staff have developed common writing rubrics. They've had in common writing prompts that the students had been given. The teachers also have had time to sit down and analyze their student work and just collaborate on common scoring. We said that our students would take their ownership of their learning. I think that this is an ongoing goal. I don't think that this is something that was achieved, but it's ongoing, and that staff will just continue to work with students and to teach them the importance of being able to be reflective and being able to identify their academic strengths and weaknesses and be able to communicate that to their teachers so their teachers could better serve them.
Wendy, do you need some water?
Oh,
We have
I
some.
think Bob's getting it. Thank you.
You thought it, and he did it.
He did it, and then I thought it.
The teachers were able to come up with one cross-curricular project that included the ELA teacher, the math teacher, the science, the PE, and including our counselor, where she worked with the project with the students during their group counseling sessions. And the topic was the effectiveness of a variety of diets and the impact that diet could have on mental health. So the students had worked within all their core academic subjects plus their counseling to do that research project. We began to work building relationships with the community I would have hoped that maybe a few more students would have had some part-time jobs, but we have two. We have two students that currently hold part-time jobs. One student is at the Mill Pond Diner, and I've checked in there, and that student is doing very well there, and excellent work ethic, and they're very happy with the student. And another student is at the Cup of the Bay 2 as part-time serving coffee. And one of our students had applied and got the position at TJ Maxx, which was just for this student who suffers from severe anxiety disorder. For this student to actually go for an interview, fill out an application, go for the interview, and go for the job, that was an achievement in itself. She no longer holds the job, but she did have that experience. All the students had filled out job applications for summer jobs. And again, from Work Inc., I kind of already talked about this earlier with the community, that they're working with Work Inc. on career choices and exploration. And the experience learning classroom, I talked about that already with the tennis court. And building partnerships with the high school and the middle school, and it's just an ongoing communication with the middle school and the high school, just to improve the communication in regards to the IEP team process and how students actually become students of West Wareham Academy, that it needs to be through the IEP team process. To help with that, Stacy Rogers has been running a transition committee, and that committee meets monthly, and representatives from the middle school, the high school, the co-op, and West meet monthly to discuss students and their current needs and any kind of transitions that may be happening. Staff have worked to create a positive learning environment. We've adopted the Peace Builder model. So each month the students focus on a different aspect of the Peace Builder model. They really have adopted that, and they're beginning to use that language, and I think that plays a factor in helping our school climate. Our technology, we started in September with E2020, an online learning program. And in September, we had one student that was taking an Algebra 1 course and 3 students that were taking world history using the E2020. Unfortunately, our students were not successful. They really needed more direct instruction and more supports due to their special needs. But they did attempt it. We were lucky enough to become part of the iPad pilot. Mr. Zwalen was trained and is part of the iPad team. Our students had the benefits of using the iPads in Mr. Zwalen's classes. He used them to help differentiate instruction. He used the iPads to diversify lessons through multimedia and through interactive programs. He did some simulated experiments with physics and some different kind of simulated scientific experiments using the iPads and different apps. For the 2012-2013 school year, one of the goals is to implement the 6+1 writing traits that will be embedded into all the subject areas, and that would be continuing on throughout the school year. We would like to increase our common writing prompts for students to participate in 4 common school-wide writing prompts throughout the school year. So each term, the students would have a common writing assignment where they would use a common rubric, and the teachers would then be able to sit down and analyze that student work. Continue on working with and building our portfolios based on the new Common Core standards. Formative assessments will be continued to be developed and then implemented. That will be something that's throughout the school year, and staff would collaborate to come up with these assessments. Opportunities for teachers to, again, continue to collaborate with the middle school and the high school, to continue on implementing cross-curricular collaboration and more project-based learning. For mathematics, to improve our mathematics skills, we'd have pre- and post-test assessments given toward each unit in order to inform the teachers of the next level of instruction, and that would continue on through the beginning of the year would be the pre-test, and then at the end of each unit, there would be the post. So it would be a pre- and post-test at the beginning and the ending of the units. Assessments will be used for all students in each grade level. There'd be the midterm and at the end of each quarter. Development of the formative assessments for all grade levels. And opportunities to collaborate with the high school and on developing and writing the new math curriculum to align that with the new Common Core. And I believe that that's going to be taking place in the beginning of the summer.
Wendy, can you see how someone might be a little skeptical about the fact that you're going to improve math skills by simply doing more testing?
Well, I think we need to get a better handle of where our kids are at and what they know and what they still need to. So if we're doing these pre-tests and then these post-tests, we can see where the student began and then where the student is ending up and what we need to do to go back and make sure that those students have that skill.
I guess it's just not my idea of a goal is to test to see where kids are and then test them again to see if anything happened, because that doesn't assure that something's going to happen. That simply means that you're going to find out what happened, but there's no characterization of what's actually going to be done to change anything.
Well, then it would inform the teacher's instruction of what they need to go back and remediate for the student to be able to achieve.
Maybe I'm the only one, and I'm not an educator. It just doesn't come across to me as a goal process that will produce a desired result. So,
Mr. Chair,
yes,
you're not the only one.
okay.
When I take a look at achievement goals, the assessment automatically happens. We need to know how we're doing along the way, so then we can tweak it. So then we can make changes. So assessment is just part of the overall structure of learning and teaching. And again, I'm not an educator either, but when I'm thinking about it from my own experience, the goal is, here's where I've started and here's where I want to be. And along the lines, there are things that I'm going to put in place to do my best to be able to get there. And along the way, then I'm going to assess along the way. So I have to agree with my colleague that what I would want to see in goals is, I know that sometimes it's difficult, especially with the amazing kids that you're working with. But being able to at least all be on the same page of, you already you've done the assessments from this past year. You know what you're going into next year. Where do we want to be by, the first quarter or the second quarter? At least just putting that line in the sand to say, this is where we're gonna hope to be. And then again, trying to do the assessments along the way. That's what I would want to see in a goal.
Okay.
If I might, the difference between most of our schools and West Wareham Academy is that since every child has an IEP, within the IEP process, they have to have achievement goals measured
Yes, they
quarterly
do. Yes, they
or
do.
actually in between the
Quarter,
quarters.
yes. Yep.
Where you have
They have
achievement
progress
goals
goals.
such as
With benchmarks.
out of 20 problems, there's gonna be an 80% correct response rate. So some of those kind of goals are embedded, and they have to be done individually for each child, because each one has their own. And that's, I think, maybe what you'd be, what we were looking for here.
You know, this, unfortunately for you, fortunately for us, is that this is really one of the only schools that we actually could do student-based goals.
Yeah.
We could basically, so assessments and all of that, I hope that you're, I mean, of course you're gonna be doing those, but having that as a goal to really take a look at a goal that is student-based, and taking those that you already have, that's a real goal for the school that I would love to be able to see in here.
Okay, yes, we do have them, like Dr. Bravinich said, within each student's individual plan, they have their individual goals. So then there's a measurable goal, and then there's benchmarks. And then it would be, say, by first quarter, Johnny would be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then there's measurement, and then it's another benchmark, and we report back on that quarterly.
And is
Through the IEP
Mr. Chair,
process.
Is that what are some of, is it test scores? Like, is it the scores that you showed us here tonight, where they are in ELA and science? Is it that, or is it behavioral, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination.
Okay.
It depends upon, everyone is different, every student is different, every plan is different. So some students have academic goals, where they would have a math goal, a writing goal, a reading goal. Some students would just have a social emotional goal, depending upon their IEP.
I'd really like to see that in here.
So we'll have to try to, without names, of course, look at some of
Yeah.
them and then think about how we present it. Because we've tried to make them all look the same, and West Wareham, as the cooperative, looks different than the other schools. So maybe, that's part of the issue, is we try to make them all look the same, and it's a different population.
And just, one other comment there, I think that the overall format of the goal sheet, which is you want to be able to set your goal, you want to define what the results are, and you want to basically say how you're going to measure them. That should be a format across the board, but the content that's within each one of those, or how you're actually going to, what does the goal look like, how is it, what are the results that you're trying to achieve, and how are you going to measure it, I think that should be different for West Wareham and the cooperative. I wouldn't see any problem with that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Continue, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next goal, to be increase community awareness of the mission of West Wareham. And one of the actions would be to host a quarterly coffee hour open to the public, including parents, school department, public safety, and local mental health professionals. One goal is to, an action would be to increase the distribution of the newsletter, to get our newsletter out there, and to update our website, our webpage, to include the mission and to include our description of West Wareham. And to distribute informational mailings to surrounding towns and out-of-district coordinators, providing, to educate different surrounding towns about West Wareham, what West Wareham can offer to their students if they choose to send their student from their town to West Wareham. To have a student portfolio night where students would be able to showcase their work to their parents. Excuse me. And to minimize student behavior issues on the bus by offering training in the West Wareham behavior modification to the bus driver and to the bus monitor. This is something that I've talked to the Director of Transportation about, to try to, our student is a unique population. and to try to alleviate some of the behaviors that may be happening on the bus. I'd like to be able to work with the bus driver and the bus monitor, and just maybe educate them a little bit on our population, and train them in our behavior modification system. So there would be a carryover between the bus and school, so there's some consistency there. And to develop an effective communication with the bus driver and the bus monitor, maybe some sort of communication log. To continue to improve school climate academically and behaviorally. We would recognize students' accomplishments through quarterly assemblies. A new student orientation program led by a student mentor. So when we have students that are transitioning into West Wareham, we thought that it would be appropriate that we would take a student as a mentor to that person, to the new student. Maybe it's part of their transition to be able to leave West Wareham Academy after they've been on, they've met the criteria that they need to have to be able to transition back either to the middle school or to the high school. So take those students who are working their way to transition and use them as mentors to new students who are coming into the program. And to continue implementing the Peace Builder model by incorporating monthly raffles. We have peace cards or the peace certificates, where praise cards, where as part of the Peace Builders model, where students would be able to give another student the praise card for doing something above and beyond, or for maybe attaining or working towards one of their individual goals that they set for themselves. And to increase vocational and community opportunities. This is always a goal. This was a goal last year. My recommendation was to try to have somebody act as a community liaison or a job coach position, to be able to work with these students out into the community, and excuse me, and be able to work with them on the needed job skills training. And then our final goal is to embed technology in all of the academic areas. Students will use their designated websites with their teachers to research current events, articles, online activities, using informational text. Students would collect data to analyze to help instruct research and methods and design, to learn how to evaluate reliable websites, and to use the iPads in biology and physics experiments. So those are our goals for the upcoming school year.
Questions from the committee? Mike?
Just going to rewind a bit. I probably should have asked this back when it was brought up, but I heard it mentioned that we charge $28,000 when we bring someone in for tuition. But did I hear correctly that when we were sending students out, we were paying $40,000?
That is correct, and that's because of the collaborative. It has to have seats available that they don't know they have clients for. So there's a certain overhead of the facility and the program that then gives us that price. With this program, what we've actually done is taken the cost and broken it down per student, and then we charge less than the collaborative, so that we hope that people will send some of their students to us instead of the collaborative.
So it's to be a little competitive.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. I was just listening to it, really taking it all in, and you really tied it in when you mentioned the, a good year is just getting by without hospitalizations, that brought it home for me. You're dealing with some really profound challenges there. I just want to say you probably have one of the toughest jobs in the system, and I want to stop by and see you guys soon.
Absolutely. I welcome anybody to come. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ken?
Can I just blow my nose first?
Well, the good thing is not to judge a book by its cover, because the one negative thing I didn't like was your first slide. I think a welcoming view, I don't want to see a kid on the front, in front of the school with the hood on. That's just a bad image. That's the only negative thing I have about your presentation. Nice job on the decrease in discipline referrals.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's a great improvement, especially with what you're dealing with. And also, I know there was a problem before with absenteeism. That's looks like you had a nice improvement in that area also. So, I'm gonna follow my stickies here. I like the involvement with the tennis court. That's a good sign. I'm a community person, and I'm sure Mr. Smith is ecstatic whenever he hears someone is working on this tennis court. So it's good to see that, like the programs that they did at the Deacon School with the playground and what they're doing at East. So when you have the students out there, I think that's a good thing. My one question is, you have students who do not take medication as prescribed. Do you have access to a school nurse there? If so,
Yes.
how often?
Yes, our nurse comes over daily.
So is that the nurse from the Deacon School?
Yes, yes.
All right, so you answered my question. I was going to say why, how come we don't have that? So they really can't force the students to take the medicine, is that
Right.
the issue?
Some students that take the medicine at home, and they're not taking it properly.
Okay. The issues on the buses, is that something that you're working with?
With transportation?
Transportation?
Yes.
Are these things that are addressed with parents? Do we have monitors?
Yes, there's a
on the
monitor,
bus?
there's a monitor on the school bus.
So I think those were my just points. Very nice job over there. Keep up the
Thank
good
you.
work.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you do. I too would like to see a higher degree of specificity in terms of student achievement. I think in your particular situation, it could be a little bit more fine-tuned as opposed to a little bit general. But I know the fine job that you do and your staff, and you're to be commended on a daily basis. I do also agree that you probably should increase your marketing potential to get out there and market that school, and for a variety of reasons. But I think that we can do an awful lot. I think that the other thing too, in terms of the job coach or the co-op placements and so forth, and getting, not to beat a dead horse, but I think dressing for success is something that we have to talk about with our kids at all levels, whether it be at the co-op or whether it be at West Academy. And I think that that's a very important part of their education, is dressing for success. And so when they go on a field trip, or if they go on a job interview, or if they're going to do a presentation, there should be an honest effort to give them some direction in terms of dressing for success. But I thank you for your work, and continue the good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
So just a couple things. I think a lot of my comments and stuff that I think I want to do the same, come by and just sit down. And I think the bigger comment around what I'd like to see in the goals, you and I or emailing back and forth. We never got a chance to talk just about, some of the, I think, the concern around some of the language in it around we're going to have, we're going to, like the iPads, we're going to keep going, and somehow being able to put real solid goals around that. I'd love to be able to see revised in this. But the couple questions that I had was, what is the total capacity at
We're licensed for 24.
for 24? And so we're looking at 17 going into this year, maybe 18. And I'm sorry that I don't know this. Do we look outside district, or is this only in a, all right,
Yeah, we look for outside students to attend.
outside district?
Yes.
And so is that where you're looking to market more,
Yes,
is in
that's
outside districts?
The outside, yes, the out-of-district coordinators, one of the goals is to put together packets to market West Wareham and send it to the other districts, to their out-of-district coordinators, to inform
Great.
them
So
and let them know.
And so at an administration level, is that something, Ms. Luzon, that goes on when you're talking with other districts and generally from a student services standpoint about West Wareham Academy and letting them know that, their IEPs, they can come here?
So I have a monthly meeting with all of the special education Cape, and it regularly part of the conversation when we're talking about students that are at risk across the Cape and students that may come to us. This year, just to add to that, we had 2 positions that were paid for through tuitioning in students for this current year. So 2 of our positions that Wendy identified as our staffing came from tuition monies that we brought in as a result of a student from out of district coming in.
So the other districts are very aware about West Wareham Academy, and they know that we're open for business, and we have, 6, 7 slots open.
Correct.
Okay, all right. The other question that I have is around the attendance issues. What kind of messaging goes out to the caregivers and to the parents about the importance? I mean, is that constantly that you're reiterating to them the importance of that?
And anytime a student is out, a phone call is made home.
Okay. One of the comments that I had is around the cookbook. I think that every member of the school committee would be happy to submit a recipe to you, and if
Thank you.
some members don't cook, I'm sure that they could ask a significant other to help support that effort and submit.
And he'll give it to them?
Yes.
That was the second answer.
Somehow, let's get some recipes to.
In fact, the superintendent has already given his
Yes, I
recipe.
might add the superintendent, yes, and the student service director, yes.
And I
yes,
won the
yes.
chocolate chip cookie contest a few years back.
Well, I just then do not understand why those recipes are not being sent over to the West Wareham Academy. The rest of them do have to do, I think that it was already the general comment about the what the overall goals are, but I'll reiterate from this team, I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job over there, and I'm really glad that we have this school available to our students as well as out-of-district students, and the quality program that you provide there.
Thank you.
My colleagues have done a great job of questioning and comments. I would like to reiterate several of them, though, for emphasis. One is, I think, speaking and dressing appropriately is critical. Even in my role as a tennis coach, I'm constantly talking to my players about speaking appropriately. We get into really sloppy habits, and they translate into bad interviews. And it's never too early to be trying to get people to look and act professionally. I also would love to see more individualized indications of success, and I think in your particular case you can do it. And I think not only do I suspect you'll be successful, because I think you have a fine staff over there, but I also think it'll be a great way to market the program even more effectively by being able to document successes. Like, if you give us a kid, in 7th grade, we'll make sure they graduate by the time they leave us because we've got the data that shows that we can do that. I think that's a great message to be sending to outside districts. And I'm not even sure I like the way you're pricing it, meaning that maybe we're not charging enough, because to me, every dime that we save is a dime we can use somewhere else, and we desperately need it for somewhere else. So bottom line is, I'd love to see a waiting list at West Wareham Academy, and I suspect you deserve it, and I hope you get one. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
tonight.
Thank you.
Okay,
And I hope you feel better.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hope you feel better.
Kathy, you're up.
Switch.
I would, in the interest of time, Kathy, could you do the following? You don't need to go through every slide unless you personally want to highlight something on that slide, because we've had the opportunity to read it now for several days. And in particular, I'd like you to focus on what you'd like to do in the future rather than what's happened in the past.
Okay,
Is that fair enough?
that's very fair. Mine is very brief.
Go, you're on. Thank you.
Gee, that was quick.
Nice job.
Okay, yes, so the review of new initiatives, the ones that I would highlight are the regular walkthroughs and observations. I think just in the size of the school that I walk through the school and classrooms several times a day and give feedback to teachers. Go. Other highlights are the bulletin boards that have been put up in the hallway. The school is having the look of a school now. The whole school rights and whole school math that we did this year, where we used Fridays to do an MCAS exercise, and students were rewarded for participation and effort. Go. The survey data highlights for parents. Like West Wareham Academy, the school enjoyment, how they felt their children enjoyed school was low, and the involvement of parents in the school community were areas to strengthen. The survey from the staff, actually I don't have any surveys to compare this with, so I don't know if these have improved or if they've gone down. But the first, the satisfied with parent involvement, is I think it's a reflection of some of the questions. Some of the questions ask how many times does a parent volunteer in your classroom a week, and at the middle school and high school level, I don't think you have as much parent involvement in that way. So I think it is related to some of the questions. The survey data for the students, the enjoying school is also very close to the parents' perception of their child enjoyment of school. These are the current goals for student achievement. The highlighted would be the silent sustained reading of informational text. With a grant that we have, we were able to buy magazines and newspapers that were engaging to students and to focus on the integration of informational text. We have some new technology this year with the iPads and in-focus projectors and flip cameras, and we also got 6 new laptops this year. And community is just, we do call home if they're absent, and we've had some people come in to speak this year. Down the bottom you see family barbecue and awards. This is new with our being awarded a grant from the Wareham Foundation for Education, which will also, I think, affect the surveys with the parent involvement. Our first event is June 8th, where we're having a family barbecue and an award ceremony for students. And then next year, we will have parent breakfasts at local establishments away from the school, where one staff member and one administrator will go to, say, the Peerview and Onset and meet parents in their own, where they live in the community, and talk about issues at school. School safety, a lot of improvements were done over the summer, last summer, which helped improve the look of the school and also the safety of the school. Okay. This slide begins looking at improvements for next year. This data was taken by looking at Power School and looking at the dates of birth of students and looking at students who are 2 or more years behind their peers in school. So if you look at the 7th grade at the Wareham Middle School, currently, 5% or 12 students have been retained for 2 or more years. And of those 12, 67% are in danger of failing again for this year. In the 8th grade, 7 students, 3% have been retained for 2 or more years. 57% are in danger of failing again. At the high school, in the 9th grade, 16 students, 8%, have been retained for 2 or more years. 88% of that 16 are in danger for failing again this year. In 10th grade, 26 students, 14% have repeated or been retained for 2 years, and 73% of that number are in danger of failing for the year. If you look at the data from the Wareham Cooperative School population, the 7th grade, 33% are in danger of failing versus the 67% in the 7th grade at the middle school. 0% of 8th graders at the cooperative school are in danger of failing versus 57% at the middle school. In 9th grade, it's 25% versus 88% at the high school. And in 10th grade, 14% versus the 73% in the 10th grade. Our new goals include changing the program.
I just have a quick question. Just to be clear, the slide before that. So when I'm looking at the Wareham Middle School, and it says 7th grade and then 2 years behind, you're saying that the students in the 2 years...
1 second. Could you go back one
Can you go
slide,
back?
please?
Here,
The arrow...
then go up to previous.
Just use the arrows.
Use the arrow.
Previous.
So, it's got to go one more, sorry.
One more back.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, are you saying in this data that if I do the 7th grade, if it's 2 years behind, that means that that student is currently in 7th grade but should be in 9th grade?
Mm-hmm. Age-wise, these are 2 or more years behind their peers.
And this is current population that's in the middle school right now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
For clarity,
Yeah,
though, how many students are you
are in there?
talking about?
Yeah.
At the middle school?
Yes. I mean, because not all of the 7th graders are 2 years behind.
Yeah.
So,
At the middle school, this is, in the 7th grade, is 12 of 228 students have been retained for 2 or more years.
okay, so I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the
12 of
proportion we're
200
talking
and...
about.
28.
So if over 60%, so you're talking about 6 students, around 6 students are failing, so about half of the students are, okay. Of those
A little
half.
more than half.
Of the 12.
Of the 12. Of
Exactly.
the 12, right.
Can I ask what happens to a student that goes beyond 2 years behind? Continues to be retained in the 7th grade?
They get a license and drive to school.
Being serious.
That's why we have the cooperative school and why her statistics are so different, is because they need a different kind of educational setting to be successful. And so that's one of the things.
But can I ask, I'm sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, does that mean that we're waiting until they're 2 years behind before we're assessing whether they should go into the cooperative?
No, because first of all, the cooperative is a voluntary assignment. It isn't an automatic, it's not through an IEP process. You need parental approval for the child to move into that program. And sometimes there are reasons that parents would prefer their children not to go into that program. Within the school, we have what we call a TAC process, where when early, right from first trimester, when a child has difficulty as they look like they're going to fail a class, that parents are involved, the team gets together before, outside of the IEP process, talking about what strategies, but sometimes it's not successful for them. And
Yeah, I want to go into greater detail, but this is not the right time and in the interest of time.
perhaps with the middle school principals, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. well, I mean,
Actually,
same
we
with
would
the high
like
school,
it to
that-
be an invitational program where we have, because we have the data on the students who would find success at the cooperative school, that we meet with the parents and you know, explain the program and let them know that there is an option for their child to catch up.
Yeah, I think that my major concern is that there's students that are more than 2 years behind and they're going to fit, so we're talking 3 years, I mean,
Exactly.
this just opens up a whole nother.
But just to make sure I understand and to summarize the point you were making, which is an interesting one, and that is your record of taking children who are 2 or more years behind and giving them a chance for success is actually better than the regular public schools, meaning the middle school and the high school. That is your primary point that you were making. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I got it and everybody else got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike?
You sort of asked and got the the question answered that I was looking at, but I wanted to know, how long has the co-op been around?
7 years? No?
5 years?
5 years?
5 years? And so we've been tracking those kids, and it's demonstrable that they're improving more so in the co-op than was that depicted on, how did you get that out of that slide?
Magic. I guess I'm good at reading slides, but the bottom line is I wanted to make sure that what I was, my interpretation was what Kathy was trying to say. And I think it's a compelling story. And it says that the need for this cooperative is real from an educational perspective. And I greatly appreciate you accumulating the data and making that point so clearly.
Thank you.
You all said, Mike?
Yeah,
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
review it.
Okay, so the next slide shows what the AM program strengths are. In the PM program, you know, the cooperative school has a day program and also an evening program for students. The challenges are what brings us to want to change the program for next year, is that we have a large age span of students at the cooperative school from 12 to 21 years of age. The students who were 16 or older leave at noon to go to work or to perform community service. However, we're finding with the fewer job opportunities that those students are not employed, are not really doing community service. They're basically leaving at noon. What we propose for next year is to have a full-day program, 12 to 16-year-olds, that will operate on a middle school schedule, and that the students will take district transportation home. What happens right now is when the students on the school-to-work plan leave at noon, there is a sense of shutdown in the school because the younger students see the older students leaving, and it all of a sudden doesn't feel like school anymore. We have tried several different enrichment programs to keep the students engaged, which has helped a lot. Right now we're working on our greenhouse and doing a lot of building through the Architecture by Design, the Learning by Design program. But in a school that small, when students are leaving and other ones are staying, in their middle school minds is that we don't really have to work very hard right now. So in order to change that, we're going to a full-day schedule for the students 12 to 16 years old, and not so much grade. What we're looking at is doing a mastery of standards for those students so that we have students that are, have achieved proficient or above on their math MCAS, who may need extra help with ELA. We're going to look at individual plans for each student and what standards that they need to master.
Yes, Ken.
On the student work program, you just said that some of them aren't working, so why are they allowed to leave? If they don't have work, they should not be allowed to leave the school to run the streets. I don't understand that.
Right, that's why we want to change that. Some students did have jobs and then they lost their jobs.
I understand that, but why are we waiting till next year to change it? They should not be able to leave now if they don't have a job.
Because they don't have personnel enough to keep them there.
That's, well, that's an issue.
Yeah.
That,
The program was set up when I went to the school.
Right.
And these students are required to fill out a school-to-career binder. I actually went there as the job coach to try to find them positions, and some of them do have them, some of them had them and lost them. But it's difficult to change something that's been going on and then in May say, no, you have to stay now. Right.
well, I respectfully disagree with you. I think if we have a situation that these students are allowed to leave school to go to work, that they don't have a job, I don't see what good comes out of it, that they're going to be out there. Plus, you just said that it has a negative impact on the other students in the school. So just waiting until September to make a change, I don't know. I have an issue with that. That's it.
Okay.
I think I hear my colleague saying it might even be an incentive to keep the job because we don't know whether they lost the job because they were unreliable employees or they were just simply laid off. And if they lost it because they actually weren't very good employees, they should realize that a consequence of losing the job is, guess what? You're going to be in school all afternoon. So I must say I don't think it's ever too late to do the right thing.
No, I don't think anyone lost their job because they weren't responsible. We had a few students at Friendly's over at the Wareham Crossing that closed. Another place reduced their staff, so it affected our students. There hasn't been a student that's lost their job because of performance.
That's good to hear.
Mr. Chair?
One second, I think Cliff may have been first. Go ahead, Cliff.
But somehow.
Go ahead.
Well, but I would say that the incentive to get another job is lowered when there's no penalty for not having a job. Meaning that if I got laid off, what incentive do I have to get another one because now I still get out of school and I can just go and do whatever I want now. And the incentive would increase if we basically said, you're in school now with learning.
Mm-hmm.
Although the ability to enforce this, I suppose, is limited. These are 16 to 21-year-olds.
Yes.
I can see it.
But
You got a resource officer.
Go ahead,
Right.
sorry.
there's a requirement to be in school, and if you leave, you have a job. So I have to agree with my committee member that it seems like that we're doing a disservice to these students by not doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is learning, and that we have these kids that are at a very, very high risk, at a very high risk of failing, and now they have no education going on from 12:30 on for the rest of the day.
I guess we'll leave this to Kathy and Dr. Rabinovich to discuss. Cliff?
Well, I was going to make a couple of comments on the work sites. It's comments that I've made before. And I think that we do have the capacity internally, at least we had the capacity internally to incorporate all of these co-op programs, especially with on-the-job training, under one umbrella. And from where I sit, it's been disjointed. We've got some programs at West, we've got some programs at the co-op, we've got some programs at the high school, and this should be a unified effort in terms of using the community as training laboratories for our kids. That's what these sites are, training laboratories. And if they don't have a job, there should be an alternative for it. Secondly is, the job is part of their graduation requirements, either the job or community service. And you can't say, well, if you have a job, you can go to it, and if you don't have a job, well, you can go run around. The point is, it's either going to have to be a job or community service. And it's a graduation requirement, it's something that they have to do. And I think at least we did have the capacity to put all of these programs under one umbrella. You know, 100 years ago when I did this, you know, not only were the kids placed in a placement, they had to do reports, they had to turn in reports, they had a training plan, an individual training plan for each kid, signed off by the supervisor. And if we could, in all circumstances, we did a rotation within the work site. So it's much more complicated in terms of the educational benefit of co-op education, but it's got to be done in an academic setting. And I just think that it's been disjointed up. And I'm not blaming you, Kathy, because I know you just basically got over there. But I just think, as a whole, it's been a disjointed session because we've got a lot of co-op programs that are not consistent, not operating consistently, and so I think that's one of the things. The other thing I liked what you said in terms of, and I worked in a site-based school in Providence as a consultant. And they didn't have grades. They had two schools within the schools, and they had Gateway. And you made it from one school to the other, and they called it Gateway. And then they had this big Gateway ceremony when they went from the lower school to the upper school. But it was a blue school or a yellow school, I forgot what it was. But and there was a big thing about Gateway, and Gateway was standards-based, where they reached certain standards, that they could gateway into that upper school, and that upper school had a co-op component and so forth and so on. So I think you kind of alluded to something to that effect.
Right.
And I really think that would be a tremendous step forward in doing that. But you know, I just think that the co-op part, getting back to the co-op part of it, that is an integral part of their education. You know, because, and I'm not saying that these young men and women are not going to go to college, because certainly they have the potential to go to college. But you know, looking at the averages and looking at past history, a lot of them are going to go into the workforce, and we have to prepare them as best we can to enter into the workforce, and from a skill level and also an attitudinal level. They've got to be ready to function within the workforce. So I think that is all part of that school to work co-op program that has to be a concise, uniform program, and I think that we have had the capacity to do it. And I don't know, you know, we just, you know, it's kind of like it's school-based. And certain things are left to the school are fine, but other things, I think that if we have a district initiative, that, you know, certain guidelines would be established for a co-op setting. So That's what I had to say, but, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If it's a graduation requirement, it's a graduation requirement. And if they're on community service, there's a heck of a lot of community service that could be done right here on campus, where we could keep an eye on them. Sorry.
Kathy, why don't you continue your proposal for next year?
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
The next one. Oh, no.
No, go back. It was
Sorry.
still there.
Okay, so I've only been involved with the PM part of the program since January, but just looking at the PM program, we have some of our most at-risk students with very little support in the PM program. So the things that I've noticed are students who may not be able to get a ride to school or from school on a specific night. We're looking at transportation, hiring someone to drive the van from West Wareham Academy. Also to have a teacher tutor in the afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30 and offer those students who need assistance at night school with dinner through the food services. And right now the attendance policy for night school is that if you have 3 absences, that you're automatically dropped from the class. And sometimes I think with the population, when they know they have 2 absences and then the third they are cut, a lot of them take their first 2 absences the first 2 classes. And then when they're really sick or when there is an emergency, they are cut from the program. So what I'm looking to do is to, instead of having a mandatory withdrawal after 3 absences, is to have absences have to be excused with a doctor's note, and to, if a student has to miss, then to have referrals to the afternoon tutorial program, offer some more services for mental health and well-being, and to have MSW graduates come in and do some of their hours in the PM program and just offer some more support services for those students. We've applied for a Mass Grad Coalition grant where we would also put in a lot more services and try to have a blend. Right now, they seem like disconnected programs, and we would put more resources for the PM program with a job coach, because those would be the older population that would be working before they came to school at night. We're also looking to, I included a pamphlet with your package, is to promote the PM2 program. We are the only district from here to Provincetown that has a PM2 diploma program. Also, I think the closest one to us is Middleborough, but we get a lot of students. We've gotten students from 12 districts this year participating in the PM2 program. Also would like to advertise on cable, actively seeking students who have dropped out of school and working with Work Incorporated and Tracy Cunningham, getting students back into school to get their diploma. The end.
So could you, this is a significant proposal. Could you briefly summarize the educational benefits of doing this and the financial implications of doing this, if you're prepared to do that?
Well, financially, it will be less expensive. We have a reduction of staff. We have our 4 core teachers who also teach in enrichment. So the day program will run on a middle school schedule with 4 core academic teachers, lead teacher, adjustment counselor,
So even though
principal.
it's going from a half a day to a whole day for the 12 to 16-year-olds, it's still going to be fewer teachers and less expensive.
Yes.
Okay. The 16 plus to 21-year-olds will either go to the PM program or not be serviced, in essence. Is that correct?
They'll go to the PM program.
They'll go to the PM program, presumably.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it won't increase the number of people who choose to drop out.
I don't think so. Actually, this year at the cooperative school, it's a good year to transition to the programs that we're proposing for next year because of the students that we have at the different grade levels right now. It's just a good time for the change.
So you expect this to be better for the 12 to 16-year-olds, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so stop me if I do. Educationally better because they're actually getting more education for the 12 to 16-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go days,
Yes,
excuse me.
Yes.
full-time days.
Full-time days,
Right.
as if they were on a middle, junior high school or a high school schedule.
Mm-hmm.
The PM program is prepared to accept these 16 plus to 21-year-olds, so they will presumably be getting at least an equal academic experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's less costly because the number of teachers you'll need will be fewer.
Mm-hmm.
And the transportation is at best, at worst neutral because they're going to be taking district transportation home in the afternoon and district transportation to the school in the morning.
Correct.
That's all fair statement. Have I
Correct.
missed anything that you want to?
No, I think the PM2 program will be more lucrative because I think it will attract more students with offering more courses, offering more supports, working with Work Incorporated, and getting students to come back to school, and just promoting the program.
Barry, I assume you have some thoughts on this?
Yes, in fact, I don't know, Kathy, if you saw the appointment that I sent you, but the new planning director in town wants to come in and talk with me, and I've asked Kathy to be there because he would like to start some certificate programs for older students towards employment. And so we're going to be talking to Kathy about having that done at the PM2 program.
Now, this is a significant change. This sounds like something the school committee should vote on. Do you want us to vote on this tonight? If
I'm not
we're,
ready.
No.
if we're ready to?
I'm not ready to
Not
vote on that
even
tonight.
close.
Not even close?
No.
Good, okay. So at what?
Well, I mean, you could vote on it. I'm just saying, I won't vote on it.
No. I understand. I think it's a big deal. But we're close to the end of this year and we need to prepare for next year. When would you envision bringing this to the school committee for a vote?
After the other school improvement plans, given that it's 9:45.
Fine.
So first meeting in July, which is probably getting longer.
Okay, good. Kathy, thank you very much for.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we might have some other questions.
I have a question too.
I
haven't had
guess
my
we have questions. Go ahead.
I didn't know, okay. Just a clarification, is it 12 to 15 or 17 plus? Because right now it says 12 to 16 and then 16 plus. So is it 12 to 16 and then 17 plus?
No, it's 12 to 16 and not 16. It probably should be 16 and a half maybe. There's a population, it's very hard to go by their ages. I have 18-year-olds that are ninth graders right now.
Right, so that's why maybe it should
Right.
be changed to grades.
Right.
Okay, that was just a point. And then I think the reason why, at least I was to jump on, no, I'm not willing, that there's a lot of things on these two slides that I just have concerns which ones have budget implications and which ones don't. And so everything that you put on these two last slides, are they all included in the budget that's proposed?
Yes.
Okay. So all of these changes, there is no changes to the budget that would need to be happen from transportation costs to staff costs?
No, transportation cost for PM2 program we would have to pay a driver. That would come out of PM2 money.
Which is choice money that comes in, because that's the majority of our choice students come to the PM2 program.
Right, okay, but that's not, so that is an addition that would come out of,
But it comes out of
Yeah.
Can I suggest that we're going to need another presentation on this issue?
The last two slides.
Just on the change in the
Just on,
program.
exactly, and that we could, with the committee's indulgence, we could hold on these questions until the second presentation?
Oh, I just need some clarity before we have that presentation, and I just want to bring it up to her
Sure.
so that she knows where my brain is at.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. If and when we have this other presentation, and if in fact we have the PM2 program expanded, I guess I'm a little fuzzy as to what role would co-op education or work co-op have in the PM2 program?
You don't need to answer that, that's simply to be answered in the next presentation.
Well, no, I mean, is it part of the program or not?
It is
Yeah,
part of the
I wanna know if it's
program.
part of the program or not.
It's
Okay.
part of the PM2 program.
It would be part of it.
Right.
Okay, so they would still have the option to, even though it would probably during the day, which is probably a better thing, to be employed, to have a work plan, and so forth, and that would count towards their graduation in the PET program.
Yes, and the job coach would work with the PM2 students, not the day students.
Okay, thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, appreciate it, look forward to.
Thank you
Your
very
next-
much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Jan, if you would monitor the,
I will. Please turn all that on.
Too efficient.
We need to make a motion to pass the hour 10, seeing that it's not, yeah.
Kathy,
yeah.
is this your thumb drive?
okay. We will go past the hour of 10. I don't think we'll go far past the hour of 10, because I intend to be brief. I don't speak for Mike, though. So I'll take a motion, but I also want to indicate that Ken has indicated in an email that perhaps we should start earlier. There he is. And I'm more than willing to consider that, but I want to make sure that the availability of people doesn't decrease as a result of starting earlier. So I'll take, first of all, I'll take a motion to go beyond the hour of 10.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 400. Starting earlier, any comments?
I'm fine starting earlier. On the library board of trustees, we do our meetings at 5:30, so I'm fine with 6, which was suggested.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes?
I'm fine with 6.
Cliff?
It's going to be hard for me, depending on the days, because I am on deck for babysitting, so, you know, I have to rush sometimes to get here at 7, so, because I babysit in Taunton, so.
Would 6:30 be safer?
I don't know, I can't say, it depends on the day. You know, some days 6 would be fine, so. I just don't think we need to start early. I just think we need to make the agenda smaller, and I just think we have to say less, to be quite honest.
So are we speaking last time?
Okay, I sense a consensus to start earlier. I sense that at times you will be available at 6.
Yes.
And there's certainly a consensus of at least 4 of us who are willing to do that. Do you have another comment you'd like to make?
Well, I mean, I think that I would have a concern if one of our members couldn't, you know,
Regularly be here.
exactly, that would be a stress put on him by doing that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a consensus from my end, because I wouldn't want to put that additional pressure on one of the members of this committee. And I would like, as,
Okay, let me think about it then.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Are we ready to go?
We're trying to solve some technical difficulties.
Oh, jeez. I had it minimized. How? Why was it?
There's no battery.
There is no power cord with the laptop, and the battery has run out.
is that on a thumb drive? Do you want to use my laptop?
Pardon?
It's on a
Is that on a
phone.
thumb drive? Do you want to use my laptop?
Well, let's see if this power cord works.
Okay, let me, yes, go ahead, Cliff.
Could I make a comment? I don't want to be misconstrued what I said. I mean, when I say talk less, I mean, I don't mean that we should talk less and not ask questions and not to look for clarity. But the point is that I think a lot of the presentations that have come before us, you know, we put a timeline on there, and I know it's just a guideline. I know it's not cast in granite. But you know what? I think that if we made an honest effort to speak to ahead of time, to talk to the folks that are going to be presenting and say, hey, you know, you got 15 minutes for this presentation, you got 20 minutes for this presentation. And I think that will go a long way, as long as they understood that they were, you know, that their time was, we want to give them time, but you know, sometimes the more said is not necessarily more information.
Well, you'll be
So it's the same information given a different way. So I think if we just made it a point in some cases to just say, hey, look, you have 20 minutes for this presentation. Can you do it in 20 minutes? And they would be honest and say, I think I can do it, or no, I don't think I can do it, whatever the case may be. But I think that, you know, if we put these timelines in there, and if you know, we're trying to stick to them at some point, but it's kind of hard to do that if, you know, like today. I mean, I think she did a wonderful job, Ms. Miranda, in her presentation, but it was almost 2 hours.
It's hard to disagree with what you're saying, but for someone like Ms. Miranda or Ms. Mickelmore, or any of those principals, sometimes it's the only opportunity to talk about.
I absolutely understand, and if they can't do it in 20 minutes, they should say to the administrator, you know, I need a half an hour, I need 45 minutes.
Or I'm the only thing that's going to be.
I will tell you that both presenters were asked to make sure they didn't read anything that was on the screen and to just highlight the things that they thought were important. They're not responsible, of course, for the provocative nature of some of the things that they say, which, and I mean that in a positive way.
No, I understand that.
So anyway, okay.
Again, I didn't want the committee to think that I was trying to inhibit
Understood.
their ability to get clarification.
Understood. Are we good to go, Jan?
We're good to go, I just need to know which,
It's called superintendent evaluation.
okay.
Okay, just
Is
roll it
this-
from the
this
beginning.
This is the correct one?
Yes, that is the
Okay.
correct one. You can make it full screen.
Will do.
Okay.
What is this?
All the members of the committee participated in a workshop a number of months back in which we discussed the changes that would need to be made to the superintendent evaluation process as a result of the changes in the state regulations regarding the evaluation of all educators. What I'm about to go through is the results of that effort, plus discussions between Dr. Rabinovich and myself, and I believe we have come to consensus, but we need a vote of the school committee to approve this process. So I'm going to go through it.
Would this process be for next year?
What we're looking at will be used for this year's evaluation.
In August
Yes,
or September or whatever?
that's,
The 12-13 school year.
Oh, that's not this year.
correct.
He's got an
That's right, 'cause
evaluation
we're-
coming up this summer.
Right.
So you want the old one used for this summer?
Yes, that was the agreement I thought we had reached.
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
That's
Yeah.
fine, that's
Okay.
fine. So this would be effective with the new school year. Okay. It still needs to be voted on. So the first thing you're looking at, and I tried to make it as large as I can without making it absurdly long, is the state mandates a rubric be used as a part of the evaluation of an educator. That rubric must consist of 4 standards. And those standards are then broken down into indicators, and further broken down into elements, and then further broken down into descriptors. This could get a little nauseating, so I'm going to try and really move through it quickly. One example of one standard is instructional leadership. An example of an indicator under the instructional leadership is curriculum. An example of an element associated with curriculum is standards-based design, and then within that standards-based design is a description of the expectation of, in this case, a superintendent within that specific element. This committee has decided that we would describe the expectation, and then that expectation would either be met almost always, most of the time, occasionally, or rarely. And depending on the frequency with which that standard was met, that would result in either a rating of exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory.
Mr. Chair, point of information.
Yes.
Is this similar to, the workshop that we did on that
Yes,
Saturday?
absolutely.
Is this exactly it?
This is it.
So we're reviewing what we went through that, I mean, for Mike wasn't there, so I get that, but I just wanted to make
Yes,
that
we are.
point that just,
Yes.
let's, okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make a point that many of us were there when we
Yes.
went through this in the very
But
beginning.
the public is entitled to know this.
Okay.
So, that is an example of a standard, an indicator, an element, and a descriptor, which is also known as a rubric. Okay? Now, the next page shows you that there are, in fact, 5 indicators under the standard of instructional leadership, having to do with curriculum, instruction, assessment, evaluation, and Dr. Sylvia, you will enjoy this, data-informed decision-making. That's one standard. The next standard has to do with management and operations. That has 5 indicators. Keep in mind there's a rubric for all of this, but I didn't want to show you it, all of it. Environment, human resources, scheduling and management, laws, ethics, policies, fiscal systems. Then there's the third standard of family and community engagement, which has 4 indicators of engagement, sharing responsibility, communication, and family concerns. And finally, there is a 4th standard called professional culture, which is commitment to high standards, cultural proficiency, communications, continuous learning, shared vision, and managing conflict. So those are the 4 standards, indicators, and there are elements for all of them, and those elements produce a rubric, and all of that is part of the process of evaluating our superintendent. The rubric, you may have noticed, also has a place for notes. That's not unimportant, because the state, as you will see, and I was part of this committee that felt strongly about this at a statewide level, believes that if you're going to rate any superintendent above or below proficient, you ought to justify it with some comments. It shouldn't be just, I don't like the guy, unsatisfactory. The next slide shows you that after you have done the rubric for all those in all of those standards, you're going to produce a rating for each standard. And that rating will be either exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory. And in our case, we're rating that 10, 8, 6, and 0. And that's particularly important because you're going to see how that translates into an overall result. So on this page, you'll see that you will literally rate the individual indicators, curriculum, instruction, and there are, keep in mind, there are 4 of them. You'll rate it, and then you'll create an overall rating, and that produces a certain number of points. You'll do that 4 times. You'll also produce, next slide please, a set of goals. These will be SMART goals. We were ahead of the state. The state, however, mandates that one of the goals will be professional practice, another goal will relate to student learning, And then, of course, there will be some district improvement goals as well as other goals as the superintendent and the committee choose to jointly establish. Those goals will be rated as in a variety of ways, but basically it has to do with where they exceeded, met, progress, some progress, or significant progress, some progress are not met. That also will produce a rating, as you'll see on the next slide. So the goals will be indicated. We will rate the achievement on those goals along those 5 categories, which is what the state uses, but that will also produce a point level. So, for example, exceeded is 9 to 10, met 7 to 8, significant 5 to 6, some progress 3 to 4, and did not meet 0 to 2. This committee has on its own decided that every goal will be weighted, and it will be weighted based upon the consensus of the school committee. And that weighting will determine the significance or relative lack of significance, because it will be multiplied by the points established for how well the superintendent did on that specific goal. The weights must add up to 6, because if you have a weight of 6, and then 10 points is the maximum for any goal, you get 60 points for goals. And we go to the final page, and you'll see that that is a summary page. So that the total possible for the goals and objectives is 60 points. The total possible for the general responsibilities is 4 standards times a maximum of 10 points for each standards is 40 points, which means that the maximum achievable is 100 points, not coincidentally, and that automatically produces a rating of either exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, or unsatisfactory, a point score, and a corresponding dollar increase depending upon it. So that's what we're talking about, beginning the new contract period, which begins July 1. Are there any questions that I have created by a pretty rapid go-through of this process, but I tried to make it sequential so that it would make sense?
So what you're saying to me is that we're going to have to prepare an addendum to Dr. Rabinovich's contract, is that correct?
It's in essence an attachment, because that's what it is today. That's correct.
Okay.
But it is.
Well, it's an addendum to the, he's gonna have to agree to it.
That's correct.
All
That's
right.
correct. But I wouldn't be presenting it to you if Dr. Rabinovich hadn't already agreed to it.
Well, yeah, I would hope not. Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay? Any other questions? Mike?
Kind of toward Mr. Sylvia's point, where this will be an addendum, right?
Yes.
In that last.
There is one already. This would be replace an existing addendum.
Gotcha. All right. So could you read that last sentence at the bottom?
Based on the evaluation system above, the superintendent is eligible for an increase of X dollars.
And when you say eligible, that's kind of like a gray area, is it not? Like, is it? Yes. Because the way it's currently worded, it's pretty hard and fast. Like there's a dollar amount attached to a certain grade. But when you say eligible, it's sort of up in the air, isn't it?
Well, the committee has to vote.
But if you come up with a certain score, there's a certain dollar figure attached to that score.
That's correct.
But when you say eligible, then is that not great?
It's not intended to be ambiguous. We could certainly change that word if the committee feels, or if Dr. Rabinovich feels that it's ambiguous. It's been around for a while, but that doesn't mean it's right.
We can do that at that time, sure. But if you need to do it now, I don't know. But.
Well, if you have another word you'd like to substitute, I'm more than...
No, I thought, I had questions about it, but now I understand it's not being used this year, so I'm okay with that for now.
Well, no, but we're going to be voting on it. So if you'd prefer, you prefer it to be the superintendent will receive an increase of, we could certainly do that.
I wasn't here when that was done in the first place, so.
I don't think there's anything sacred about the word eligible. I don't have any memory of it being sacred.
I guess I'm not following the issue.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, under the current arrangement, it seems that there's, yeah, if you give a certain, if there's an average that comes out to a certain figure, there's certain dollars attached to that figure. Whether the school has any money to pay it or not, you know, whether or not, you know, we're looking for debt exclusions and overrides, you know, so the committee seems kind of tied to give that figure if you get a certain score. Whereas if I'm reading eligible, it says that there's some discretion there, and I don't know if that's.
Well, I can assure you that the discretion is only on the part of the superintendent.
Okay. All right.
Where do they see eligible? I guess I'm not.
The last line on
Last
there.
line of the.
Oh, I see, okay.
Then we can just leave it then.
Okay.
No.
Any other questions?
Yes, what would we be voting on tonight? The actual form?
Yes.
Okay. The thing is that we didn't receive the form in our packet.
Yes, you did.
Okay, as part of that big, long
Yep.
document, and it's exactly like
It's
this.
exactly like this.
Okay.
Yes, Michelle? I gave it to you and you sent it. I got it.
I got it.
I got it, yes.
No, I got this document that is part of the overall document that we reviewed. We didn't get
There
a
was
separate.
there was a separate file that contained this, that you're looking at. There were two files. Change income, the one right above.
Right, but it doesn't include, I got this, but everything that you showed before it, is
Is-
that what's in the bigger document?
Yep.
There's no changes?
No changes, zero zip,
Okay,
not one word.
yeah, I mean, this hasn't changed that much, so.
Plus, it's totally consistent with the workshop that we had.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
could I suggest that we not vote on this tonight? Could I suggest, because if we're not gonna be using this year, you know, it'll give us a little bit more time to review it, a little bit more time to maybe ask you questions or Dr. Rabinovich questions if we have some.
nothing sacred about voting on it tonight.
But, and it would just give us a little bit more time, because, you know, to be quite honest with you, our old form, especially under the general responsibilities, has some things in it that I thought were great, that's not even covered in here.
Yeah, unfortunately, the state mandated a tremendous percentage of this.
No, I understand that, but doesn't mean that we can't add to this.
Oh, my goodness. It is
And
already.
I know you've already negotiated.
No, that's not what I was thinking.
But-
It's already voluminous.
Yeah, I know, but, you know, there really was, in terms of dealing with the staff, in terms of community relations, in terms of dealing with parents, there were some really, really good things on those general responsibilities that we used before.
Tell you what,
That are not even close to being covered in this form.
in the interest of time, I'd be more than happy to, especially given the fact that Mike didn't participate in the workshop, I'd be more than happy to take suggestions, and we do not need to vote on it tonight. It's fine with me. Is that a consensus?
Yep.
That sounds good.
Thank you
Okay.
for reviewing it again.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
My pleasure. Okay, we have, Mike, you're on.
Okay, I'll try to be quick. One of the frustrating things I find with a lot of the way the boards and committees work in this town is, you know, they all say they want more public participation, more public inclusion, but basically, you know, once you've got your public participation period, once that's done, there's not really much interaction when it comes to real agenda items that are on, you know, that we're meeting about. And I'd like to change that. I'd like to allow people to be able to comment on agenda items, and I'd like to get the committee's thoughts on that. And mind you, I mean, for all I know, you probably allow it. I just haven't seen it. I mean, if someone raised their hand, for all I know, maybe you'd be fine taking them up, but I'd like to formally do that.
I may not understand exactly what you're saying. Are you saying the agenda is published before the fact?
Yes.
correct? Yes?
Yes.
And it's published publicly, it's
Yes.
publicly available. So are you talking about public participation during the meeting?
Yes.
After every agenda item.
So when the committee is discussing, you know, cutting the budget $900,000. That's well past public participation, public comment.
It's also past the public hearing.
Yeah, well, what do you mean here?
You have a public
We had a
hearing.
public
Oh, yeah, right.
Yes.
It was just an
Different
example. Search and seizure policy, all right?
Okay.
We're talking search and seizure policy, well after the public comment period. But now, Kenny brings up something and it's starting to stew around. Maybe there'd be some people in the audience that might want to comment and give feedback, but I don't know if they're really welcome to do so at that time.
They're not. That's
Right,
correct.
Right. Can we make it so they are? I have a motion. I move to allow public comment during the discussion of agenda items for up to 2 minutes per speaker. The chair may allow more time at his or her discretion.
Do you need a second for discussion?
Yes, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second for discussion?
Okay.
Could I just either read it slowly or just use it? Thanks.
Okay. The floor is open to discussion.
So I think that as a committee member, I am always open to ideas on how to get more people in the audience, to be able to get feedback, to be able to hear more from the community. I think that there are so many different opportunities to do that than having it part of every single one of our agendas. Our agendas, because there are important pieces of the school business that we have to take care of, that we have to vote on. You already see our agendas are so long that having that variable of not knowing how long that would go, I think we would never get to all of the voting issues that we actually would have to do. So I would want to absolutely have the discussion on ways that we can include more people in the public participation part, or whether you have a Q&A afterwards or something like that. Having a coffee with the members of the school committee, on Wednesday mornings or something like that. But different ways where I'm actually looking for community members to be engaged, to actually watch our school committee meetings, to actually participate here in the school committee, but then do it in a different forum. I think that if we open it up during the agenda, we will never get to some of the most important agenda items that we need to get to and the votes that we need to get to, because it'll happen all during that process, and these agendas are so tight that's my comment.
Can I respond?
Oh, sure.
The library trustees had the same concern, and we implemented it there. And the people that attend are mostly nonprofits, the Friends and the Foundation, and they were thrilled. And it didn't add much at all, because, we have a big agenda, but there's only a certain amount of things that people want to comment on. Not everyone's going to comment. It technically entitles people to comment, but they're not only going to comment on stuff that's really important to them. And I think for people to get involved, they need to have a say, not necessarily a vote, but a say. And if it's after the fact, if it's after the vote, it's too late. So this is how I see it done when I attend meetings at the state level, at the federal level. Public participation is not only welcomed, it's encouraged at the meeting, so people can make informed decisions if someone has some feedback they might be able to give. But that's where I'm coming from.
Cliff? Ken?
So our meetings will be going to midnight. I see your point, but it's not done at the selectmen meetings, correct? It's done at town meeting, where basically it sounds to me that we're trying to turn this into a school town meeting where we would give everyone 2 minutes to comment on. Today we've had a lengthy agenda. I think in public participation, that's the opportunity for anyone to take a look at our agenda and comment on something that might be item number 9 on the agenda and say, their point. We can take their point and comment on it when we get to that. But me personally, I'd have a hard time supporting that.
Are you done? In terms of public, I understand completely where you're coming from, but And at the national level, you have public participation at subcommittee meetings or committee meetings. You don't have public participation at the policymaker meetings. So we're the policymakers. And, we have to seriously debate and take votes and so forth. And one of the things that I've always been, and you're new to the committee, but one of the things I've always been, and Michelle can bear me out on that, is I almost always refuse to vote on a salient issue the first time I get it. So, I like to discuss it, I like to talk about it, I like to think about it, and then I like to come back at some future date and actually vote on it. So by doing that, it gives the public the opportunity to know exactly what's coming up in the future. We're going to be doing that with the school improvement plans. We'll probably be doing that with the program of studies. We'll be doing that with a lot of different things that come before us. Our budget and our main issues are always open to public hearing. When we had the transportation situation going on, that was open to. We had public meetings. We had a subcommittee that was advertised that people could come and participate in. In terms of our availability, people know us. We're always available, and if they look at their agendas, and if there's something they don't understand about the agenda, I get phone calls all the time. What is this agenda item about? And I tell them, and if they want to be here on public participation, they are. But one of the most important things why I think that I would not support this is the hard issues become politicized. And I just don't want to, I just see this has the potential for becoming a political arena, and I just don't want to go there.
Right.
Sure.
More so to Ken's point, people get the agenda, it's posted ahead of time and such, but people don't get the documents that we get until they see them up on the screen. So then they might have some feedback after they see, oh, that's what the search and seizure policy really means, or that's how it really reads, or the presentations that are given and such. So in real time, it's that important, I believe. I'm guessing I don't have much support for it, but I don't know how else to get people more involved.
I understand your
Mr.
motives.
Chairman,
But the thing is, these are televised, so people are like, why should I be here? I can't really do anything. I'll just watch it from home. So why be here?
Right, Mr. Chair, you have absolute support for the overall feeling of wanting more participation and more caring in the school system and what happens. I think that I would want to seriously see new ideas come forth on how we can do that. I think by just saying this one forum is the way to do that, I wouldn't want to go there until we've explored all the options that are available to us. And just the comment that you have about the search and seizure policy, the nice thing about us having a policy, because most people do have comments on the policy review, the policy review committee meetings, they are posted and they're public forums. So people actually have an opportunity there before it comes here. Here is after we've had a committee, open discussion, people can come and talk about all of those policies. Then this is where we have to say all of the feedback is given, now we need to take the vote. If we've offered those opportunities along the way and people haven't taken advantage of them, and then all of a sudden we allow that to happen here, it's just basically discounting everything that we've already opened up, and then again takes our meetings and turns it into something different than really what it's meant to be.
For 2 minutes a person?
I would, the comment through you, Mr. Chair, the comment that I would say, if all of a sudden it had something to do, we have a discussion coming up that's or that could be coming up about cutting sports. Okay, that would need to be the only agenda item on our agenda, the only one, because we've seen public forums when we're talking about that one item, all of a sudden there's 50 people that want their 2 minutes.
And the way I've seen that work in the past with like super hot button issues is that the chair, and I could amend the motion if I have to, but the chair would say something like, they know that the people are there for that reason. I'm going to take 3 for and 3 against, and then we're going to move on. So
I would just ask that through you, Mr. Chair, this is the last thing I'll say, that we explore all different types of opportunities to get the public more engaged in policy setting, because again, we're policy setters, looking at the budget, how to engage, because we've been trying for 3 years since I've been here. We have 4 different open forums for people to come and talk about the budget, 4 open ones where people can get up and talk as long as they want, 4, and people don't show up. So I would want to focus on that piece, you know, and again, explore other options before we basically say, this is the end all be all, this forum is the way that we're going to get that public participation or more people engaged. I think that there are so many existing things that we can explore to get people more engaged first before we all of a sudden say, this is the first place we'll start. We have other places that we could start before here. But again, I feel 100%, I'm in 100% agreement with you that we need to spend some time focusing on getting more people in this community interested in the education of children.
I'm going to vote against it, but I want you to know my thinking as I vote against it. I think there are always unintended consequences, even with the most idealistic and well-intentioned ideas. My inclination would be, as chair, that when I review the agenda with Dr. Rabinovich, I may, in the future, see a particular issue, think that it might be valuable to the committee to hear immediate feedback, and that put a note next to that specific agenda item, public participation permitted, and then not so much limited, well, I would not only limit it to the certain amount of time per participant, but I'd also have to limit it as a certain finite amount of time in general, because otherwise, as Ken has indicated, you know, our meetings would be that much longer. So you've got me thinking. I applaud the idea of pulling people in and making them feel more like it's an inclusive process, but I'm concerned about unintended consequences, so I think I'd like to explore it tentatively, put my toe in the water to see what the impact would be before I generally open it up the way your motion would do. So I didn't want you to misconstrue my negative vote, that you've got me thinking about ways to explore it in my role as chair. Any other points or discussions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Sorry.
Any abstentions? Okay.
Feel bad for her.
I know.
First time out of the
Your
box.
first one.
1-4-0. Any other business to bring before the committee?
Welcome to the committee, Mike.
By the way, I've been shot down too, so, yes.
The executive session.
I know, I
Okay.
realize that. Okay.
Ken
long
was
as it-
almost out the door.
As long as there's no other,
You might as well sleep here.
as long as there's no other business before the committee, we will now move into executive session. We will come out of executive session for the sole purpose of adjourning. So,
Are we going into executive session
Yes.
for what reason?
What reason?
and we're going into executive sessions to approve the minutes of a prior executive session, as well as to get a report from the Director of Student Services on a
Parental concern.
parental concern. Okay. Yes? We go into executive session.
Aye.
It wasn't about
Yes.
dentistry,
Aye.
was it? It wasn't about dentistry, was it?
We're not saying, it's
Yes.
private. Aye.
So if you have to say aye.
Aye. We are in
Yes.
executive session. Thank you, everybody.